Well, it is, like you said, officially go time.
Yeah, I mean that just kind of like snuck up on us. I had no idea it was going to like get going that fast. I mean, I sense that you're feeling boisterous tonight.
I am feeling a little boisterous, a little rowdy, as the case may be. And I just got Facebook notification. Good job.
And I got the Twitter ding, so I
Yeah.
think we are good to go to start making people mad and people throw some more rocks at us. That's fine,
Yeah,
right?
well, that's fine. We'll throw them right back at them. So, anyway, we've got kind of an interesting show tonight. I don't really have the topics up there as usual, but we've got an interview with what is her name? Callie. Callie, is it Callie Carmichael, I believe? Anyway, um, she had a little interesting situation with a shall we say boisterous politician,
A,
and
a boisterous, not a boisterous politician. Oh my
I,
gosh!
apparently there's something in the water around these parts these days because not only did she have a
you you said something in the water. I mean, that sounds like the politician that was saying something about the water. But anyway, we'll get to that.
yeah. We also have Jack Harville, who is running for, I think I'm right, District 4 in the police jury. He got into apparently a little Facebook commenting tizzy with some folks around the Ivan community. So we got another boisterous politician there. We're going to talk about that for a few minutes. And and our good friend Wes Marriott got Queen David all in a tizzy today, all being
Well,
very boisterous.
well, I don't know if he got him in a tizzy or if Brian Hammond's got him in a tizzy. I think I don't know. I would contend that Brian Hammonds did a pretty good job.
Well, look, you got a point. Hammond's teed it up, and then I guess got Queen David all worked up and in a frantic or in a frenzy anyway. I can't talk this evening, so it's going to be one of those evenings. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to talk about some of that and share some of that.
Yeah, well, look at there. Jack Harville is here.
Howdy, Mr. Jack. We can see you there. So we will be talking about you a little bit this evening, and we want you to know that you're welcome to come on the show. We can send you a link for either later this evening after we have our other guest, or you're welcome to come on next week if you want. And we welcome all politicians and most folks anyway if they want to come on the show and be a guest.
Well, why don't we go ahead and let's go to the countdown, Rex, and come back and let's delve off into it. Bossier Parish politics, never a dull moment.
That sounds like a plan. I'm going to hit the magic countdown button, and folks, y'all know the drill. We'll be back in about 2.5 to 3 minutes. This gives you a chance to go make a good stiff drink, pop some popcorn real quick, because we're definitely going to go to the circus when we come back.
Knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. There's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
And I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
They're making a little bit of progress, but I would definitely have to give the race to Caddo Parish right now.
I don't know. Is there anybody from Plain Dealing watching, you think?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Did you not requisition some money to fight against this or for it?
We hired a lobbyist. It cost us $15,000. We were opposed to HB 630.
So for this week, folks, the cockroach of the week, according to Bossier Watch and Duke Lowry and Rex Moncrief, is
Raymond Cruz, legislative assistant. Allie Feaster Smith. Thank you, Allie. Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. No way it was not David. You know it wasn't David Montgomery. David ain't gonna jump off in there with Chris. He ain't gonna do it. He'd soon spit on him as he would even look at him. Man, this is a Mickey D's Krispy Kreme wheat. Didn't you know? Who's paying y'all? And if you're driving on the roads, are you safe?
It's on the road, yeah.
Well, I know you're on the road, but I mean, is this all folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. Yeah, that's only going to cause more division that he claims he doesn't want to cause. And it's only going to cause more suspicion. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Coleman Project, the Walker Place deal, through conscious, shocking action. The purpose of their actions was to stop plaintiffs, being the Earl Coleman and associated groups not, from developing Walker Place. But here's the key thing, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
You hit the button. Does that mean that people are like seeing us sitting here talking and chatting?
In theory, you know, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Transact Card. Unleash the power of your spending with Z-Bucks. Contact Renee Hall. Smarter Geek. Making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. All right. Well, and we have made it back.
Well, nothing like surprises in the last minute and, you know, testing some people's technological abilities. And,
yeah, no kidding.
But knowing you, I know you to be a high achiever, so I didn't think this would be nothing for a stepper like you.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, but let's see. Give me a second here. Let me click a couple of buttons and see if I can get a profile ready. Let's see. Let me get the names right. Anyway, so while I'm sitting here clicking around and doing all this sort of thing.
I'm going to jabber a little bit. Hey, Ryan. Hey, good. Hey, Barry Butler. We already said hi to Jack Harville. Louis Bizarre. We didn't recognize Louis in the comments earlier. So if y'all are just tuning into the show, let us know you're there. I mean, there's a little over 100 live viewers here. We appreciate y'all all taking the time to see what we sometimes call the train wreck of politics, as it is in Northwest Louisiana. And hopefully we're going to enlighten y'all tonight. But as we get started right out of the gate, we have a guest. We wasn't 100% prepared for the guest, but we're working through that. And
yes,
I'll take responsibility for that.
Yeah, that's all right. You know, every now and then I throw you some curveballs too. So all I've got to do is get this picture in this folder and we'll be ready to bring our guest in. So who's our guest and what are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about, so look, if you're from Northwest Louisiana, you know how important the oil and gas industry is to our economy. I mean, look, let's face it. You've got, I would contend, Barksdale Air Force Base. That's the biggest contributor to our economy. I would say second is, without a shadow of a doubt, the oil and gas industry. Now, the school board people, they would argue with that and say, oh, no, we are.
And the base people might argue a little bit too, you know, the military folks.
Yeah, well, I will give it to the base. I'll give it to the base people. I'll say the Air Force Base is the number one ticket.
Right.
But oil and gas industry is second. And anyway, we've got a gentleman coming up in our guest. He's in the guest thing. The green room. I'm losing my words tonight. I'm
It's
struggling
okay.
here.
It's
I'm
okay.
struggling here.
There's something in the water. It's getting both of us and the politicians. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
let's go ahead and bring Matt in. Oh, well, that's not Matt. Let's try this. Hold on, Matt.
Hello, Krista Denny. Hello, Robert Thomas.
All
Hello,
right,
Bruce.
let me change your name because you're definitely not Callie. I thought I had all that changed, and for some reason it didn't save it. Anyway.
Y'all are doing a great job on the fly. Let me just thank you for inviting me on your show. This is always fun.
Well, look, what exactly is going on that you felt so urgently to give a call and say, hey, we need to get on Bossier Watch and let people in Northwest Louisiana know about something happening? What is that?
Week from tonight, we're going to have a great Northwest Louisiana Oil and Gas Forum. Going to hold it at Silver Star, of course. Current Solicitor General who is running for Attorney General, Liz Merle, is joining us, as well as Representatives Thomas Presley, Dodie Horton, Raymond Cruz, and Alan Seabaugh. And of course, Alan Seabaugh and Thomas Presley are both running for Senate seats there in Northwest Louisiana. We want to talk about bringing back Haynesville oil and gas jobs that benefit every Louisiana and all Americans.
Yeah, go ahead, Duke, and then I'll fire off.
Yeah. So what's the idea here is that you're going to get all the politicians in a room and you're going to make them commit to, hey, we're going to bring all our oil and gas jobs back and we're going to get it rolling.
Sure, absolutely, and we know that federal obviously plays a big part in that. Federal permitting delays have really hurt Louisiana and a lot of other oil and gas producing areas across the United States, with people in office who really support American oil and gas workers, like we have in Representative Dodie Horton, like we have in Representative Raymond Cruz, and then Thomas Presley, and then Alan Seabaugh, and with our hopeful next Attorney General, Liz Merle, who has fought for American oil and gas jobs. With people like that in office, we can be confident that we can bring back Haynesville oil and gas jobs.
Well, let me ask you this. What specifically can the politicians do and our hopefully next Attorney General do to try to help bring some of these jobs back? In other words, what may be hindering the Haynesville Shale from taking back off again?
One of the biggest things is takeaway capacity, putting pipes in the ground. And of course, the recent Fiscal Responsibility Act should speed some of that stuff up. But we need an attorney general who knows how to fight for American oil and gas workers. Jeff Landry, of course, has done a great job as attorney general. And I know that with him in the governor's seat, we can really turn Louisiana around. Most importantly, probably, is having someone like Liz Merle, who has been a staunch ally on gas workers, in that attorney general seat. Because what we need to do, whenever we look back at President Trump's administration, President Trump's agenda was held up in court a lot by radical environmental groups and by labor unions who were opposed to his policies. With an attorney general like Liz Merle fighting for American oil and gas workers, we can hold the Biden administration at bay and start reversing some of these anti-American oil and gas workers' policies. In fact, just last week, the AG's office in Louisiana, along with the American Petroleum Institute, Shell, took on the Biden administration over their limiting offshore drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. That was a decision that will hurt Louisiana and the entire Gulf Coast, as well as America's energy independence. We need fighters in every seat, and that's one of the things we'll get with Liz Merle in the AG seat.
Well, so an interesting thing you talked about during the Trump administration and being tied up in court, it's a common thing that we see in government across the board is different issues, and it doesn't have to be oil and gas, but that is a strategy, is you tie things up in court. It's lawfare, and we see it at the local level, and you certainly see it at the national level. And I would contend that it's choking off everybody, from local, federal, across the board. We're being choked, by the lawyers. I'm sorry, but it is what it is.
We live in a litigious society, and of course, being able to play the other side of that, we need to be fighting these battles in court, just like the opposition side is doing. Whenever we get down to the state reps and the state senators, what they can do, and one of those that failed in this year's session and failed the veto override was Senate Bill 1, Senator Alon's Senate Bill 1. That is so important. And the representatives and senators that are committed to reintroducing Senate Bill 1 in the next session, to phasing out franchise taxes on business owners, and to creating a more business-friendly climate in the great state of Louisiana, and being able to attract more businesses and create more jobs, and really create a pipeline from poverty to paycheck. It's so important for us to elect the right people like Dodie Horton and Alan Seabaugh, and Raymond Cruz and Thomas Presley, who will support that kind of legislation.
I got you. So, Oil and Gas Forum, September the 12th at Silver Star, and
Yes, sir.
y'all are going to promote the Haynesville Shell, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's see, and I've got the graphic pulled up there. That's 6 to 9 p.m. So it's pretty much anybody. Is it open for anybody to go to, or do you have to get reserved seating or anything, or what?
Tickets are available. And I forgot to send you the link. By the way, I appreciate y'all taking some responsibility for not being prepared for the guests, but really it was mostly my fault because I forgot to send you the flyer this afternoon. So I'm not going to do a Biden here and blame somebody else. I'm actually going to take the responsibility on myself instead of blaming y'all.
Shared responsibility, but we appreciate you coming on.
Have you ever been to a
Hey,
Bossier
thank y'all.
City council meeting out of curiosity?
I have not been to a Bossier City Council meeting yet. Tell me, what are they like? Are they like Karine Jean-Pierre kind of press conferences?
They would love you. They would.
Yeah.
You're their kind of people. I can tell.
I know we'll get along.
All
Hey,
right.
thank y'all for having me. Rex, Duke, have a great night.
All right, you too. Thanks a lot. All right, let's see here, Mr. Lowry. Let me click that and go back to the screen. And our other guest, Miss Callie, is in the green room as well. So let's.
We got a lot of, we can bring her on in. There's a lot of comments going here in the Steve Stewart. Seabaugh is a clown. Ryan Haygood. That's the night of the Senate debate. Good catch, Ryan.
Good catch, yeah.
Didn't even put that together myself. I mean, and we're a part of it.
Right. Well, the good news is, we hope everybody's at the meeting, helping out the oil and gas industry on their phones, watching the Senate debate that we'll be putting on September the 12th. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't consider that. Are we campaigning against ourselves?
I really don't know what we're doing tonight. I'm just along for the ride, clicking buttons and things.
What kind of stupid politicians are we? Oh, wait a minute. This is that amateur journalist part.
Amateur hour. Callie did not know what she was getting herself into tonight, so we'll see.
Yeah, we're proving it. So, as every Rex, I think I can frame this, segueing into this perfect. I mean, how many people are noticing all the crazy signs? How many people have noticed that it's, the bizarro world of politics happening all around us? It's that time of year. Politicians are losing their minds, doing stupid things, and saying anything, everything to get your vote. They don't care. They'll say anything. I even saw Juliana Parks is talking about how conservative she is, and use some other terminology.
Hold on, I've jumped the gun on my button. But anyway, yeah, she is. So let's go ahead and bring Callie in because I accidentally clicked the wrong thing. We'll get to Juliana here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if I can do this the right way tonight. Hello, Callie, can you hear us?
Yes.
We're a little rough around the edges tonight because we had a kind of an unexpected to me guest, and so I'm all befuzzled.
Callie, I got to ask you right out of the gate. Now, Callie Carmichael, is there any relationship to John Carmichael?
No.
Okay, that is a good thing. But so a lot of folks may or may not know the story that they're fixing to hear out of you. But this goes to kind of how we teed this up of the craziness of politics and politicians getting crazy and doing crazy things. Um, so you've experienced an incident, and a lot of people have saw a video. Now you are live in the district of a race for state representative over there
Yes.
between two candidates, and who are those two candidates?
Danny McCormick and Randall Liles.
Gotcha. And you've picked a favorite in that, and who you're supporting. And
Yes.
you had a little incident. I guess when you were taking your kids to school, or early in the morning, or something. And what
Yeah.
what happened?
Well, I had just come home. It was 8:30 in the morning. I had just taken my son to his school, and I came into the driveway. And before getting into my driveway, I had gotten a text message from one of my son's teachers. And so I thought, well, I'll just wait until I get home and park and read this. And so I was sitting there and I was reading it, and you can see in the video that my daughter gets out, like, we're just getting out. I had no idea anyone was in my driveway until I heard my security alarm go off, and I was like, "Oh gosh, there's a man standing right next to who is this?" And so I collected myself, and I realized, it was Randall Liles, and so, you know, that's where it started.
Well, let me do this. So I've got that video that you had posted on Facebook queued up
Yes.
here. So let me go ahead. I'm going to hit play, and there's some parts of it where the audio is kind of not really, can't really understand it much.
Right.
So we'll kind of skip
Right.
over that part. But this way it'll give people context of what you had posted and what was going on here. So let me go ahead and roll that video
Okay.
for a second.
Oh, I didn't know that.
All right. So there, I guess that's Randall walking up behind your car?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
he is kind of your neighbor. He lives a couple of houses down?
Yes. Couple
Okay.
houses down.
Okay. So it wasn't like he just
Hey,
came in off
I
the
just want to
street.
talk to you. I noticed y'all got my competitors signed up for your yard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not
Why?
All right.
Okay, let's see who we're voting for.
Why is
Let's
that?
hear it.
Who you have another one?
All right. So that's where the audio gets kind of garbled. So tell me kind of, because we really can't hear it and the audience can't either.
right.
What was the conversation y'all were having, or what was this all about?
Well, he approached the vehicle, and the first thing out of the gate, before I even get into this, his approach was it was not tactful in any way whatsoever. I was super caught off guard, and he's approaching me as that we have a friendship, or we've known each other. This is the first time that he and I had ever talked to one another. Really, I mean, ever. So, in this video, what you're seeing right here, you see my daughter get out, and you can tell my daughter doesn't know who he is. He also doesn't speak to her. He doesn't know her name. And so she was very caught off guard. And so right here in the video, he's asking me, why? Why do why?
And what
And
was,
well,
let everybody know what was the why about. So he's running for, is it state rep? Is that correct? And
yeah,
so is Danny
he's
McCormick.
right. He wanted to know why that sign, I had a Danny McCormick sign in my yard.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I told him, I said, because that's who I'm voting for.
All right,
Plain and
so
simple.
I'm gonna hit play here. I think I've got it where the audio might catch back up, but I'm not sure. So let's listen for a second.
Well, I apologize.
I think you're being rude.
I'm sorry. What I'm saying is, I just didn't understand. And you,
All right, so right there, you said he was rude. What
Yes.
was he doing? I mean, other than arguably kind of creepy, just walking up the drive to talk about politics, and it's not like y'all are next door neighbors. What was he being rude about?
Um, he was just being rude for the fact that, I told him, I said, I voted for him last time. And, he just kept chastising me every time I tried to speak. He just kept coming at me from, why? Why would you do that? He hasn't done anything in 4 years. And, just told me about it. And he was offended that my sign was in my yard, and he thought that I did it to insult him. I didn't do that to insult him. I did that because it's my right to put whatever I want in my yard. It's my right to vote and proudly support who I want,
All right, so
regardless of your feelings.
this video is about a minute and a half long. I'm gonna we'll roll the last 10 seconds here.
I understand that I am your neighbor.
I haven't had a chance to talk to Arthur, and I was like, well, let's talk about this.
And I understand. I understand talking.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is making things personal.
Well, I didn't about the deal about.
All right, so y'all kept on there for several more minutes, but there's more to the story, isn't there? I mean,
Yeah.
how long did y'all's
Yeah.
conversation go on?
Probably 8 minutes
Really?
after this video.
So yeah, go ahead, dude.
Yeah. So when you told him that, look, that's who I'm supporting, that's who I voted for before, and he kept on. I mean, did you ask him to leave or anything, and he just wouldn't leave, or was it the fact that he was just gonna, no matter what, he was gonna have you change your mind, and there was no other option?
Well, he kept insisting for an answer as to why. Why wouldn't you vote for me? Why would you vote for Danny McCormick? Why, and why? And so finally I had to start, pointing it out. And I said, it boils down to Danny McCormick is an oil-filled man. I'm going to support an oil-filled man. That's a born, bred, raised oil field. I'm going to support the oil field. And he said, well, I support the oil field too. And he said, I have tons of mineral rights and, properties with mineral rights and this, that, and the other. And even before he said this part about it, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Before he said that, he said, don't you think that there needs to be stronger and stricter regulations on oil wells on the water? And I said, you just proved my point. You proved it right there. That's why I won't vote for you. You're not an oil man. You don't support the oil business.
So what was he was trying to say? What was he talking about? Fracking? Was he trying to say or allude to that fracking is the cause of water problems with water systems? Was that what he was alluding to?
He's alluding to the fact that there's oil wells on Caddo Lake, that's where Blanchard water comes from, is from Caddo Lake, and that there should be stronger and stricter regulations on those wells on the lake. And I don't know if he knows this or not, but oil field is probably more than doctors on regulations and strict and rules and this, that, and the other. It's so much that it's going to put the little oil man out.
So,
and it's not right.
I'm dying to know, is he the flag bearer of the solar farm in North Caddo Parish?
I don't know.
Is he trying to articulate, and is that why he's running against Danny McCormick, that he's against the oil and gas industry, but yet he thinks we have more solar panels? In which, that seems an important thing to me, because if that's the case, if he is the candidate of the port, wanting to bring in more solar farms, and squeeze out the oil and gas industry by saying we need more regulation, I think that's pretty important. I mean, and you've got it right here on video, and I do know that we've sent the video off to try to clean the audio up to get it. But if he said that, isn't that a fair question? Is that what he was trying to articulate?
Could be.
All right, so we're getting, and I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but we're getting kind of a mixture of comments. Most people seem to agree that was a little awkward and maybe even borderline creepy. But you said y'all went on for 8 minutes, and that video was really only about 30 or 45 seconds, maybe a minute or whatever.
Yes.
Did you ever ask him to leave, or did you just kind of stay engaged in the conversation and argument with him, or kind of what was your feeling?
It became heated to the point where, yes, I did have to ask him to leave. And more importantly, through this video, you can't see from my perspective what I'm watching. You know, you do see my daughter get out, and you can kind of see in her body language, she's like, this is creepy. And I don't know who this is. Well, she goes behind him and she stands in our garage. You know, you have to think, her mama's stuck in a vehicle with her little brother. She's in the garage, and this man is, at this point, chastising me and loud talking. She decided that she was going to beeline inside and go call her daddy. And so she went and called her daddy and said, Daddy, there's a strange man in our driveway being mean to my mommy.
Whoa.
What do you do with that?
Yeah, and I think, the video, obviously, that's why one of the reasons we wanted to have you on is the video that you were able to post doesn't show the whole picture of this. So,
Right.
all right,
Now,
so how
yeah,
did, well, I want to,
wait a minute. Well,
go
I
ahead,
got to
man.
ask this one, Callie. I got to ask this one, Rex.
Go
So,
for it.
Callie, here's the thing. Some people are saying, he probably shouldn't have walked up in the driveway that way. I mean, somebody said in the comments, in fact, maybe he should have came later, knocked on the front door, and had a conversation and been cordial. Somebody said, well, he shouldn't have come walking up your driveway that way, kind of sneaking up. But here's the thing, and before we did the show, when we talked to you, this was a little bit pre-planned. Now,
Yeah, it was.
so for those of you kind of scratching your head and suspect on this, what am I talking about? And this was pre-planned.
Well, I found out afterwards. It took me some time. We went inside after I had to calm my husband down because he came home. I had to calm him down, and I had to gain my composure because I got mad. And so we got a phone call from one of our friends who is our neighbor. And, he told us, he said, he came to me this morning. He was aggravated about the sign. He told me he was going to confront you about it. And I advised him not to. I told him, don't mess with her. It's just one sign, leave it alone. And he immediately beelined straight to my driveway, within minutes, straight to my driveway, as soon as I pulled up.
Wow. Well, and so those of you that may be watching the show that are, running for office or maybe running for office in the future, this is a good lesson in how not to approach a potential voter. Do it the right way. Don't creep up behind, a lady that's got her kid right there. And I would say argue would probably be a nice way to put it. Argue with somebody for 8 minutes to the point where, the child has to call the husband and the dad to come home to see what's going on with the wife and the mother.
Yeah.
All right. So if you had something to say to Randall Liles right now, some constructive criticism to offer him, Callie, what would it be?
It would be that the reason I posted the video is because I had, after I posted it, I got an overwhelming amount of, he did it to me. He's been doing this. He's been doing this. He's been doing this. He's been doing this. I'm so proud of you. It was very, very positive. And I didn't, I'm sorry. I just had someone walk by. My children are running around everywhere. So what was the question? I got thrown off.
Constructive criticism for him if you had to talk to him.
Yeah. His approach and the way that he did that, and he's been known to do it to other people, especially women. Don't walk up on women, especially with children. Don't try to intimidate people, especially women. Don't put yourself in that position, because he can potentially get himself hurt in that position. He could have made a better choice, and he could have come to my front door as a neighbor and done it the right way. And he and I could have had a much more pleasant, hopefully, conversation. And if he would have had a little bit more tact and not berate me and chastise me for my freedom, for my right to choose whatever I want. And I think it's pretty clear. If I have a Danny McCormick sign in my yard, I'm not voting for Randall Liles.
Yeah,
End of the day.
pretty much a given there. Well, Duke, do you have any more questions?
Nope, that's all I got. Callie, we appreciate you coming on and telling your
Thanks for
side of the
having me.
story. And if Randall Liles wants to come on and, say his 2 cents, he's more than welcome to. But I mean, you got video. Hat tip to you there.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening, and like Duke said,
Y'all
thanks for
too.
coming on and telling your story.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So Rex, I sent a couple of images today in regards to that was a follow-up on this of apparently Randall took offense to, as I understand, she lives 4 or 5 houses away from his property. I don't know. So I'm still hearing she may be connected.
Do what?
I was hearing some background noise. Anyway, apparently Randall lives, down a ways from her and is offended by the sign. Well, I got some images of actually across the street from Danny McCormick's house where.
Oh, well, by the magic of our software wizardry here, let me there we go. Let me put the picture up.
So the black fence is apparently the fence of Danny McCormick's house, and directly across the street, which appears to be, how this thing goes, in the utility easement, Randall Liles signs.
Yeah. Well, it's always the sign war every year, but I don't know. This whole thing, our good friend Ryan Haygood's saying, "Hey, this is overblown" and all that, but I want to remind everybody the deal is, and Ryan, she only posted a small part of the video. It went on for 8 minutes. She only posted a little over a minute and 20 seconds video that we didn't have audio for most of it. So this is an abject lesson of how not to approach people, that you may, at least you may want to influence their vote or change their mind if you can. This is a good way for a politician not to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the first things that came out of his mouth that I could understand, none of that sounded offensive to me. I
Right.
mean, but could he have been a little bit more tactful about the timing and how he? I mean, I can tell you, just like with the term limits thing, walking up on the streets when you kind of walk up to somebody getting in or out of their car or whatever, you got to be very conscious about startling somebody or. I mean, heck, I don't want to get shot. And I got to say that's pretty risky to go walking up like that.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, all right. So
But he's not, and that's not the only crazy politician story, right?
No, and as a matter of fact, the next story we have, he was in our comments earlier. I guess he's still there. Jack Harville, if you're in our comments and still watching the show, just throw a comment up again and let us know that you're still watching, because apparently, like I said, it's in the water with everything today. But we had another incident. Actually, I think this one has taken place over the last couple of days. Okay, so let me set the stage here. Yeah, Jack Harville is in the audience watching the commentary. So let me set the stage for this. We shared out a couple of weeks ago, a couple of episodes ago, all of the candidates running, that had qualified and running for office. And Jack is running for the District 4 seat of the Bossier Parish Police Jury. If I remember correctly, I think you're running against John Ed Jordan. Is that correct, Jack? Let us know in the comments or whatever. Well, somehow, I don't know why, but this post showed up in my Facebook feed from one of the Benton pages about a situation that happened on an Ivan Facebook group, as in the little community of Ivan, just what I guess would be northeast of Bossier or whatever. And apparently there's some turmoil and drama going on there. Now, I don't know. Yeah, okay, so Jack says correct. He is running against John Ed Jordan. All right. So I don't know the full context of this, but apparently there was an exchange of commentary between, and Jack, feel free to chime in the comments and correct us. There was an exchange of comments between Jack and some other folks, which, happens on Facebook, of course. It is social media. Well, apparently, I guess it got out of a little hand. Now, in full disclosure, I didn't see all of these comments. I only saw some of the afterward comments and the screenshot. So let me switch screens here. Hold on just a second.
I'm dying to see it because I mean, I guess I'm living under a rock in Bossier City because I haven't seen any of this.
Well, we'll switch. Okay. All right. So I'm going to hit that and that. Now, apparently, this is one of the comments that was made by Jack. And for full context, we don't know what was said or what was commented before and after. So I want to be fair. Even though we're not necessarily fair and balanced, we're biased.
Okay, well, who is Bobby Edmonston?
Well, I know Bobby Edmonston, but he doesn't spell it like that. But he definitely lives right up there around Ivan. He's our tax assessor and my every once in a while fishing partner.
Okay, well, it could be a different Bobby Edmonston. I don't know.
It could be. Well, look, there's Joe Maggio mentioned in the comment. I know Joe Maggio. They were selling their house in Houghton. Maybe they moved up around Ivan. I don't know. But anyway, so here's this comment, and it says, for those of you that can't, that are listening in or on your phone and can't see it, Jack Harville says to Kate Chaves, and I think she was in the comments a little bit ago in our show comments. Jack said, "Grow up, Kate, or I'll call Bobby Edmonston to stop your unemployment, and also I'll call Joe Maggio and tell him to report your sexual harassment. Now, before you start mouthing, you best know who you're mouthing to." Now,
okay. I know Joe Maggio.
I know Joe too.
That's got to be a joke. That's got to be comedy.
I don't know. Maybe so.
I mean,
and Jack, if you want to come on the show, I know you're in the comments. If you want to come on the show, let me know. And I don't think I've got your cell phone number, but I'll shoot you a Facebook message with the link to click, and you can come into the show and comment on this if you want. I mean, explain the context of this, because it's hard for me to imagine any good context. Okay, so Duke, take over the mic for a second. I got to figure out how to get Jack a link to the show.
I know Joe, and we have spent a lot of time together, and I mean, that's got to be funny. I mean, that's got to be humor. And Joe is a funny guy. I can't see this as being any other way. Now, the Bobby Edmonston thing, I don't know on that one. I can't, no clue, can't say it. But you know what? I just chalk it all up to it's the crazy season of politics and people losing their minds and doing crazy things. Y'all all see them putting all these stupid signs all over in the median everywhere in the rights of way, because they all want y'all to think that, oh, the more signs I got out, the more people are supporting me. And they want you to think if I put reelect on there, that means I did a good job. So you should vote for me again. Well, maybe that works for a lot of you, but I don't know. All right. That's all I got. How are you coming with Jack there?
Okay, so hold on.
Yep, Steve, you're right. Context is important. Hello there, Ricky Hayes. Hello there, Tabitha Bruce. Don't know if we'd said anything. Mike Cummings Jr., I see you're in the house. Judy Stewart, Terry Norris, Mary Arnold, Weston Marriott, Holly Cole, Paul Johnson, Emily Hayes, Bruce Touch. Some of the Halton gang in here.
All right, I'll have him the link over here in just a second. So, Jack, if you're still watching the show, I'm going to text this over to you. And all you need to do is have a decent internet connection or cell connection and click the link. Give your phone access to the camera and the mic, and should bring you into the show as long as you got a pretty good connection. And just make sure that there's not too much background noise and all that. So I just sent that to your phone. So go ahead and check your text message. Okay.
Yeah, so
So
Rick, I mean, look, we're talking about signs, and it's that time of the year. And look, here's the other thing, guys. The signs are meant to, it's psychological. The more you see them, the more that name imprints on your mind. So the more likely when you go in the booth, you're going to vote for the name that you recognize. But I would tell you, you need to do your homework and you need to study what these candidates' positions, what their stated positions are, and what they have and or how they have voted on issues before you cast your vote for them. You need to be informed on that, and not
okay.
just because they got the most signs.
All right. So I'm gonna bring Jack in. Okay. Can you hear us? No, he can't. Hold on just a second. Why is it not? Hold on just a second, Jack.
Oh.
All right. Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and we've got audio for you. All right, welcome to the show. We
Thank
hate
you
to
very
bring you
much for
on.
having me.
Yeah, hate
Thank
to
you.
bring you on this way. I mean, we always say that any politician or candidate that's running for office is welcome on the show if you want to. But so I got to ask you, first of all, tell everybody what office you're running for and all that.
I am running for Bossier Parish Police Jury, District 4.
Okay, so I did get that right. Okay,
Correct.
now explain this comment because we don't have the full context. And to be clear to everybody, there were some other posts in this Ivan group about people that were obviously over upset over whatever happened. So explain what happened from your perspective.
Yes, when I decided to run for this position, I've had many people ask me to do this, and I have 5,000 people on Facebook that are my friends, so I use that as a tool to get my word across. I joined this Ivan group, and I tell you what, they everything they have said from the very beginning, they do not like outsiders coming in their little community. That was very much stated to me. They, I told them from the beginning that I am a very outspoken person. I will fight and defend for myself as I will my district, my parish, my city. Um, I flat out told them that we need to all come together. This is our parish. This is not the parish of Ivan. This is District 4, the entire parish. And boy, I'm gonna tell you what, push the buttons. And I told her I was as nice as could be. I said, look, anybody is welcome to drive up in my driveway, drink a cup of coffee with me, and I will tell you everything you want to know. I'll answer as many questions as you want to ask me. They insistently told me that I was not from this area. I need to go back. They consistent. There was a post today that said cowboys and boots, no suits and ties. Well, uh, you know,
Okay,
what do you say
so
about that? And that's just that. But my family uh, is originally from Plain Dealing, and we have hard roots in Plain Dealing. We have hard roots in this area, and I was just being as nice as I could be to these just a handful of women, and I think one or two men, and they were not accepting it at all.
right,
And
so
I told
there have
them,
been a lot of allegations thrown back and forth on some of these posts. There were some allegations of like putting signs up on private property and then somebody took them down. Do you know anything about all that?
yes, very much so. I had certain signs up. I had 3 signs at in an area, and they disappeared. I had permission from the owner of the land. Um, it is the owner's land. And I had those signs removed. And I said, well, I'll just put them back up. So I did. And they were removed again. And the very next day, all of a sudden, my sign pops up in my opponent's yard with a comment, look what my friend supplied me with. Well, uh, what do you say about that? I'm not going to, if he wants to vote for me, please do. Uh, you know, what do you
All
say
right.
about that? I had people ask me about it, and I joke. I want to joke about it. I'm not. I told the Ivan group, I flat out told them that I was not going to down or anything about my opponent. I flat out told them that I met John Ed Jordan at a police jury meeting, and we had a pleasant conversation. And I said, these are my exact words, I believe it was, because that's country over there. And I flat out told them, I said, I am not getting into a cow patty chunking conversation contest with you. I said, I am not going to down my opponent. I said, right is right, wrong is wrong. That's not how I was raised.
Well,
And
All
man,
right.
it just kept
well, Jack.
on and kept on.
Well, Jack, I appreciate you coming on, and I want to ask you one question while I got you on and the opportunity. Do you support term limits? And if you're elected on the police jury, will you seek to, get term limits implemented upon the police jurors of Bossier Parish?
Yes, I do support term limits. Um, I think that 4 years, man, if you can't do a job in 4 years, there's a problem. They're either happy with you or they're not. So
We'll make sure and
definitely,
send you. I'll send you a link via text message to our digital online deal, and you can go sign the Bossier term limits
I'll be more than happy to. But
petition.
yes, I do support term limits.
Okay, so we got a couple of questions from the audience.
Sure,
Here we go.
sure.
All
I do
right,
not
let's
doubt that.
see. Yeah, let's see. There was one about, here we go, from Marie Arnold. And Marie Arnold says, what were your comments about the timber community in our area that set off a firestorm? Because there was some mention that I saw in some of that on some of these Facebook posts.
Yes, these two women. I'm not going to mention any names because I'm not going to do that. But they have insistently said that I am going to build subdivisions within their community. And I don't have the vaguest idea where they came up with that. I never said that. As a matter of fact, I said our country, this is the whole reason why I moved out into our country is for the beauty of it all. There's pines, there's hardwoods. Okay. I'm not a I am not a developer. I am a real estate appraiser. I have never in my life developed a subdivision and
Okay, so,
do not plan on it. So the timber, I think the sawmill is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for District 4. Um, there's growth that needs to be made. Growth is inevitable. Growth needs to be made where growth needs to be made. Now, would I want a McDonald's next to my house? No, I would not. But
right.
a sawmill. Would I like to see a Walmart come out and be put in front of the sawmill and a McDonald's out there? You're certainly right. I do, because growth is inevitable. That's the American way. If we don't grow, then we have nothing.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch screens back here. So hold on just a second. So, got to ask you about this because here's
Certainly,
the comment that we were showing before you came on. And again, we appreciate you coming on.
certainly.
What is the context of this, and what did you mean? I mean, you don't have to call the lady out again or whatever, but what did you
Yeah,
mean by this comment?
man, that was. I had a message from a individual which I will not name that told me about this young lady that was terminated from her position at the at tax assessor's office, Bobby Edmonston's office, and said that she was terminated. I mean, described, uh, just basically she just what type of woman she is, and then the part of Joe Maggio. Joe Maggio is a very dear friend of mine, very dear friend of mine, and she also informed me that this lady kept on attacking on Joe, trying to be with Joe Maggio for money. And Joe just had enough. If you know Joe, uh, Joe does not get riled. He won't get riled if a polecat comes up on him. And like I said, my kids grew up with Joe's boys. I've known Joe forever, and I will admit that comment came out of anger, but I've told everyone I am very outspoken and I will defend myself. I will defend my district. I'll defend my parish.
So is that the
And that's
same Joe Maggio that lives in Halton or used to?
Joe. Actually, we lived in Green Acres Place subdivision. Joe also lived in my subdivision at the time with his then wife, and then he moved out to Highway 157,
Okay.
and that's where he resides now.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Um,
Well,
I,
so
I, I go ahead.
well, I was going to say, I mean, is there anything in retrospect or hindsight? Because apparently, now you can admit to this or tell your side of it. Did you go
Sure.
in and delete a bunch of posts and comments off that Ivan page?
I blocked every single one of them off my
Okay.
Facebook page. They don't see what I do. I don't see what they do, and to be perfectly honest, that's about the best way. Now, if elected, uh, they are still more than welcome to come have coffee with me. I will support their community just as I will support Plain Dealing, Benton, the parish of Bossier. Um, that's just that. That is how I am, and I'm not going to change that. I mean, yes,
Well,
but
all right.
I don't want to listen to negativity. Um, I'm human, and I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not going to dwell in it. Took me a week or so to come to that aspect of it, but when you get pushed, you tend to push.
All right, so let me ask you this then, because we've been on the Bossier Parish Police Jury's rear ends for quite a while, especially
Yes,
when they disabled the ability of people to comment on their Facebook live stream, which the audio on their live stream always sucks anyway. Now, as a
right.
government body, they don't have to live stream the meetings. I mean, that's just something extra that a lot of the government bodies do, but they disabled the ability of people to comment arguably because they don't want to hear anything that doesn't fit their agenda and narrative. So let me ask you this: as a candidate for District 4, would you support or try to get it on the agenda to re-enable comments on the Bossier Parish Facebook page? How do you feel about that?
Most most definitely, most definitely. I encourage everyone to actually go to the meetings. Now, here's what's bad is the meetings. There's 2 meetings per month. They're at in the middle, at the early afternoon, right after lunch, practically, and there's people that cannot be there. Um, goodness alive, set another meeting place, set another time if need be. People deserve to know what's going on. There is, in my opinion, um, I have went up there the last 2 meetings, and each lasted anywhere between 2 and 3 hours. And I sat up there and I watched uh, the jurors basically just sit there and not have a whole lot to say, and people want to talk. People want to know what's going on, and they deserve it. My opponent, uh, it's kind of funny. My opponent was asked by somebody, said, how do you feel about term limits? And his response was, uh, I really I really don't know. And
Well, we'll send an
and that's
invitation
it.
out if John Ed wants
And
to come
like
on
I
too.
said in the beginning, I am not under any circumstance going to down or belittle my opponent. I post these stories on Facebook. I'm sure everybody sees it because each one I post is for 24 hours and it expires after that.
Well,
Right.
I posted one that said,
well,
we can get anybody to do a job wrong. Now, I never mentioned, I never mentioned a name, but those few in Ivan, boy, that hit the brick. So,
well,
uh,
well, Jack, I want to ask you a couple of quick questions.
sure.
So would you have voted to appoint Butch Ford to be, the parish administrator?
Would I have appointed Butch Ford to be the parish administrator? Um, Me personally, no, I would not.
Is that because he's
There's
not a resident of Bossier, or because you didn't feel that he would have been fit for the job?
That is because he is not a resident of Bossier, and I don't believe that he really knows what's going on. And that's nothing against Butch Ford. I do not personally know Butch Ford, and I'm not going to say a bad thing about Butch Ford. That is my opinion, and that's what I'll stick with.
Do you think that the parish's expenditures on the sewer district, and being as upside down as they are, do you think the parish has made the right decisions on, the process there with the sewer district?
No, I do not. There's always room for improvement. I have, I thought it was comical, and I've had a lot of people tell me this that, it's election time, and now all of a sudden, we see the inmates out picking up trash. We see, the medians mowed the 6 foot tall grass. We see limbs being cut. We see little patch jobs in the road being done. Uh, I mentioned one or two times about a job on my personal road that this is the fourth time this year that the same hole has been patched. Now, uh, what I say about that is if you go anywhere and you buy something or you pay for something, then you expect the job to be done right. Why in the world would it be up to taxpayers' dollars to continue to pay for something that should have been done right in the first place?
That's a fair point. So we've had several comments that would like to see a little quasi debate between you and John Ed. So if we could agree to get, or if we could convince John Ed to come on, would you be opposed to having just a kind of little mini debate?
I was actually hoping that my opponent would be on this evening. I more than welcome that.
Well, John
Duke?
Ed, you hear that out there. Jack is willing to have a small debate with you, and if you are watching, if you'll message us, we can get you on right here tonight, or we can set it up and plan for another night. Not opposed to doing a police jury debate.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Sounds excellent. Sounds excellent to me.
All right. Got any more questions, Duke?
No, sir, I don't.
Well, Jack, we appreciate you coming on and being a stand-up guy in the comments. And of course, you're more than welcome to stay in the comments. And I would suggest, just a little word of advice from a social media guy, probably don't need to try to get in arguments if you can avoid them. And for God's sakes, don't delete comments. People loathe that. I've
Oh,
got a rule.
I understand that, and I tell you, it's
I've
I've
got a
never done
rule.
anything
I
like
don't.
this before, and I honestly, I did not realize just how cruel uh, individuals can be when you're actually trying to help.
Well, look, I've got a rule. I don't post anything on social media that I wouldn't put on a billboard.
Well,
Nothing.
I tell you what, that's the whole reason why I totally deleted these individuals, and I will add them back if I'm elected, and we'll address any issue that they have.
Look, a prime example is right now in our comments. The alias Mark Smith says the sewer district turned a profit this year. But I'm just curious if you take tax dollars that maybe were, and I'm pretty sure this is the case. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is the case. If you take tax dollars that was meant for another fund to prop it up, and then after you get the rest of the proceeds, and you say, "Oh, it it was profitable this year," that's not exactly being straightforward with the public. I mean,
Yeah.
Let me just address that. The public, and that is me, you, and everybody, whether they're in our district, whether they're in Caddo Parish, it does not matter. The public has every single right to know where their tax dollars are going. Just plain and simple. They
Fair
have every
point.
right.
Fair point. All right. Well, we're going to continue on. We got to go get on the city council's rear end. Like I said, we appreciate you coming on because we had, kind of posted about it, and I saw where you commented that you were going to be watching. So we appreciate you watching and coming on. Whether people agree with you or disagree with you, at least you showed up and, answered for it.
Well, I do appreciate you allowing me to finally say my side of this little Ivan group, because it's been a nightmare with them, and all, like I've said all along, I said, why in the world can't we all come together as a district?
Well,
And that's just that doesn't appear that that's going to happen until the election.
right.
And
All right.
but
Well, you're welcome to
I
come
do
back
appreciate
on.
you bringing me on.
Yeah,
all
and
All
if
right.
right.
we can put this little debate together, maybe we'll do that. If not, if you got something you want to share, just reach out to us, and we'll be glad to have you back on.
I certainly appreciate it here.
All
All
right,
right.
thanks,
Thanks,
Jack.
Jack.
All right. Take care.
So, okay.
This has really been off the cuff, on the fly tonight.
Okay. Hey, before we go further and we jump on off, I want to stop and take a little personal privilege and share my screen. And I used this one. I mean, I think this is a good one, but I just wanted to recognize a longtime friend, Jackie Lovelace. A great man. Just words can't describe. I mean, if you didn't have the honor of knowing this guy, you're less for it. Heart of gold, cared about everybody that he came in contact with. Um, I first met Jackie when I was a fireman and was a paramedic. I used to go and I would work as a paramedic part time up in the jail. You know, seeing the inmates because you have inmates that have medical problems. I mean, you even had some that was shot or stabbed. So they need medical care, wound treatment, all that kind of stuff. Jackie, when I first met him, was a deputy in the jail, and I can tell you, Jackie was all the time counseling inmates up there, talking to them about what they needed to do to get their life straight, and he was always trying to help people. Now, don't get me wrong, Jackie had a side of him, and he would put you in your place, but he was always doing it, for people's best interest. And anyway, we lost a big man in Bossier, and I wish a lot more people could have met him.
Yeah, I didn't know him, but everything that I've read up, it has all been overwhelmingly positive, and so obviously he had a big impact on the Bossier area, no doubt. Okay, let's see here. It's been a all right. So first of all, let me go back to addressing the Jack and the Ivan situation. So I did invite the people from Ivan on the show. and they declined, and that's fine. So I just want to let everybody know, Duke and I never purport to be fair and balanced. We're absolutely biased, non professional, amateur journalists. But, when we're calling somebody out, we do like to give them the opportunity to respond, and open invitation to any politician or candidate that may want to come on the show. They're always welcome to reach out to us. So I want to get that uh, through there. Now, you mentioned that mysterious Mark Smith was rattling off something about the sewer district. Our good friend Barry Butler, who's running for District 5 in the police jury race against your good friend Juliana Parks. And in full disclosure, I am helping Barry with his videos and all that kind of good stuff. Anyway, Barry says, where did Mark get his information?
The self-identified conservative, thoughtful candidate in the race.
Yeah, Barry. Well, look,
the conservative, thoughtful candidate in that race.
Oh, you're killing me, Duke.
What part is it that makes you conservative? The fact that you're against term limits, the fact that you're against, anybody auditing a government body, or is it the thoughtful candidate that votes to appoint or maintain an administrator of the parish that isn't legal to hold the office and
All
cooks
right, hold on a minute.
Cooks the books to be able to stay there.
I wasn't quick enough on the trigger, but just so everybody knows, and for those of you that are listening to the audio version, Duke's favorite person, Juliana Parks, had posted this.
And oh wait, physically responsible.
Yeah.
She must be talking about enabling Robert Berry at the Cypress District and wanting that to continue on to infinity. Maybe that's the fiscal responsibility she's talking about.
Yeah, maybe so, because she says, Santi and I are so grateful for the encouragement and support of our longtime friends. Let me put on my radio voice here. Of our longtime friends, Congressman Mike and Kelly Johnson. As Congressman Johnson often says, it has never been more important to elect conservative, thoughtful, fiscally responsible, there you go, Duke, leaders at every level. Blah, 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 blah. It has been my honor to represent District 5 in that way, and our work has only just begun.
It's only just begun. Good grief.
I'm reading this, and not that I really care, but I'm reading this, and I'm thinking that MJ himself must have officially endorsed her. Look, there, you can see the tops of their heads.
Well, it doesn't say endorsement anywhere in there. In fact, I don't see a quote from him, but I'm curious. Conservative, thoughtful, and physically responsible. So if Mike Johnson's image is being used in there, I'm dying to know. I guess Mike Johnson thinks that illegally appointing a parish administrator that doesn't even live in Bossier, which is required by law, I guess Mike Johnson thinks that is thoughtful. I mean, the Cypress district and all the money that's been pissed away out there, I guess that Mike Johnson thinks is physically responsible. Or an upside down sewer district, I guess Mike Johnson thinks that's fiscally responsible.
Or even worse, kicking little old ladies off the library board and inserting all themselves on there.
I guess Mike Johnson's in favor of that as well too. I guess that is the new conservatism, for who knew? I had no idea. I'm now wondering, what the hell am I? Because I'm not a conservative. If that's what conservatism is, I'm not a conservative. I don't know what I am.
I won't get on my soapbox about the use of the word conservative tonight, but suffice it to say, for any new viewers that we have, most candidates, they tout, that they're conservative, but they can't define what that actually means. Ask them what it means to be a conservative and see what kind of answer you get. You'll get a deer in the headlights, or, the mainstream talking points. That's it. And that is not what it is to be conservative.
But look, all y'all, the only thing you need to know is she and a lot of other candidates have re-elect on their signs. So that means they did a good job. You're not supposed to pay attention to all this other stuff. And especially if you put a picture of walk on water on your sign, by all means, you that's who you're supposed to vote for. Now, I got your marching orders.
our good friend Colonel David Crockett says Parks did this when she ran originally. I called, this is, Colonel Crockett saying this, he called Johnson's office last time and he had not endorsed her. This is a tricky play by Parks. I would argue not even Parks. It's a tricky play by our favorite cockroach of the week, multi-cockroach of the week, Allie Feaster-Smith.
Okay, so Colonel Crockett, if you're saying MJ, this is not an endorsement and she is trying to deceive the public into thinking that she is, wait a minute, conservative, thoughtful, and physically responsible when she's really not, and Mike Johnson really doesn't think that she's conservative, thoughtful, and physically responsible, I would love to hear that from Walk on Water. I would love to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a question for you, MJ, because we know you have your lackeys watch the show too sometimes. Are y'all endorsing her or not? Are you endorsing her or not? Official, actual endorsement. Our good friend Annie Monica, who is running against our favorite Philip Rogers in District 3, says, I knew I should have gotten a selfie with Mike. Yeah. We would put you on our favorite candidate list if you did that, Andy. Sure we would.
Well, I mean, look, Juliana and the sign wars, they got the most signs, so y'all all know that's who you're supposed to vote for. And you run Mike Johnson's picture out there, that's supposed to mean that you're officially the conservative person in the race, that you're the limited government person. Ignore the fact that we've ignored all these other things. Philip Rogers, he didn't find the time to address anything on the Cypress district until literally it showed up on his pier. It wasn't, right. He didn't, he ran, you were a part of that. He ran, said, hey, I'm going to help on the lake. And then he turned his back on everybody on the lake.
Yeah. And look, I've said it many times. I won't dwell on it tonight. Personally, I like Philip okay. His wife Jenny is great. And all that, but he flat out lied to me when we were riding around in his truck concerning the Robert Berry situation. And in the end, he had to be, well, like you said, literally drugged kicking and screaming into doing the right thing finally. And it's not like all these people weren't warned by all of us, not just you and I, by a whole lot of people. But
Juliana Parks and Doug Rimmer at the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee wouldn't have nothing to do with it. Nothing. But now they're going to jump up here in the middle of a campaign and they're going to tell you, oh, I'm the most conservative. I'm the guy. I'm the person you can trust, to do the right thing for you as your representative. Y'all just let me handle it.
Oh, good. Marriott says, I can't trust a man with a 300-foot dog. Wes, I got to tell you, you're on a roll, buddy. On a roll. Because you're about to be kind of the star of the show here in a little bit, along with Wes Marriott's good friend, David Montgomery.
Well, why don't we jump right off into that and get it done?
Let's go ahead and do it. Now, let me see if I can switch screens around here. I think I've got everything, blah, blah, blah. Oh, look, there it is, the city council meeting. Okay, so
I'm just wondering, in the comments, how many of you folks are up to speed on what's been going on in Bossier City? How many of you kind of don't know? Do you need us to give you a quick refresher? Or do you know what's up? Are you up to speed and we can just jump straight off into it? Because Rex, some people say that we get way ahead of ourselves and they don't know what we're talking about.
Well, and maybe we don't want to dwell on it too much, but to remind everybody, we did our show last week on Monday night, not the normal Tuesday night, because you and I attended the city council meeting. No, we didn't get up and speak, but a lot of people were there, had a great crowd, and a lot of people spoke. And I don't think we really need to spend too much time on last week's meeting, although I would encourage everybody to go to the YouTube channel and watch last week's city council meeting as well. And then we'll go ahead and cover this week's city council meeting because, well, there were some pretty good fireworks going on. So let's kind of bring everybody up to speed, Duke, if you don't mind, just real quick 2-minute, 1-minute summary for those that might be new viewers.
So the bottom line is in the city charter of Bossier that the existing council has had almost, with the exception of the new guys that are on there, had almost 20 years to have a charter commission to fix any problems with the city charter that they so saw fit, have not done anything until now. Until now that, people of Bossier went out, exercised the charter to conduct a petition to get signatures to place term limits on the mayor and all of the councilmen. And that requirement is to get a certification by the registrar of voters, submit it to the council, and then the long story short of it is the charter says that within certain time period, the council can either vote to just adopt it, and that's the end of it. It goes into the charter. Or if they, quote unquote, vote against it or veto it or don't support it, it, no matter what, goes to a vote of the people. Well, the graybeards, as Jeff Sadow says, describing all of them with the exception of Vince Maggio, who has thrown in with all the other ones to oppose term limits and I guess he wants certification of his gray beard. You got it now, Vince. He's thrown in with them to oppose the people petitioning for how your government should be run. In fact, you have no right to how it should be. Even though it's enshrined in your city charter, they're fighting you and trying to prevent it. And, today was another example of that. And we're going to armchair quarterback it a little bit.
Okay. Great summary. And that brings everybody up to speed. I mean, we're still at 130 something people watching, and plus a few on Twitter and all that. So probably about 140, 150 people. We appreciate all of you. Okay, so let's get through this. So the first time code that I have queued up is Vince Maggio makes a motion to delete item 4. Item 4 on the agenda was Tommy Chandler's agenda item to actually vote on or put term limits on the ballot. Basically vote on that. Am I saying that correctly?
I think you are. Let's roll with it.
All right, here we go.
I'd like to delete item number 4 from the agenda.
Second.
And for any of you that may think that Vince Maggio is for term limits, just because he said he was in a Facebook post, I want you to know that was Vince Maggio making the motion to delete or remove item number 4 on the agenda, which we do have posted on Bossier Watch, which was Tommy, the mayor's motion or agenda item again to try to get term limits on the ballot. Vince just voted or made a motion to remove it. So, there you go. All right. Let's continue on.
Item number 4, deletion. First by Councilman Williams, second by Councilman Montgomery. Questions from the audience? Name and address.
West Marriott, Sobo Live, 4308 Parkway Drive. Mr. President, members of the City Council, I stand before you today not just as a concerned citizen, but for the thousands in Bossier City who are baffled, frustrated, and frankly outraged at the disdain you've shown for democratic principles. Let's be direct, the mayor's term limits resolution has a place on today's agenda, and it must stay there. Removing it is not only a gross misuse of authority, but a direct violation of the Bossier City Charter, a charter, I might add, each one of you swore to uphold. I don't need to remind you, but I will. This charter expressly states that upon receiving a certified petition, you, the City Council, have 2 choices. You must either pass without veto the requested ordinance or put the issue to ballot within 90 days. I'm sure you've all got calendars. The 30 days to put the measure and pass it and have it without veto has come and gone. And here we are with nothing but stonewalling and silence. Your inaction itself is an action, a loud, resounding no to the will of the people. Your job isn't to debate the merits of the law when the law is unequivocal. Your job is to enact the will of the people as clearly indicated in over 2,977 certified signatures demanding term limits. Your failure to do so makes a mockery not just of your roles as public servants, but as the democratic process itself. This isn't a question of policy or even of term limits. This is a question of integrity, of whether the council respects the rule of law and the constituents you claim to represent. To remove the mayor's resolution from the agenda is to trample on the faith of the citizens of Bossier City and the democratic fabric that binds all Americans. The clock is ticking, council members. You've exhausted 30 days doing nothing. With every tick, you're not merely wasting time, but you're continuing to erode public trust and degrade the democratic foundations of this city. Keep the mayor's term limits resolution on the agenda, and for heaven's sakes, do your job. Vote on it. Mr. President, I end with this. If you don't have the courage to stand up and do what's right, maybe it's time to make room for those who do. The choice is yours, but remember, inaction is also a choice that exposes not just your view on term limits, but your view on democracy itself. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Wes just put something interesting in the comments. I'm going to put it back up on the screen. Wes says, there was a meeting in the kitchen with Williams, Darby, Montgomery, and Free before the meeting. They were discussing removing this item. It's why the meeting started at 3:01.
Well, that would be 4 of them. I don't know if,
Well, they didn't have to have Maggio in there. They know where that weasel's going.
Well, if they were having a meeting before the council meeting with all of the councilmen, then I think we're talking about an ethics thing.
Yeah, that's the correct term for that would be walking quorum.
My question is what were they discussing and what were they trying to decide?
Right. Very interesting. Okay. So let's continue on. Let me see. At the 5:05 mark, I think Colonel Crockett's up next. Let's see. Yes, he is. Our good friend, Colonel Dave Crockett.
David Crockett, 653 Dumaine Drive, Bossier City, Louisiana. These are times that try men's souls. Thomas Paine, late December 1776. A Bossier City that I've become familiar with, especially over term limits, sent me some comments because he couldn't attend. He quotes from Section 501 of the city charter, where the petition contains a request that the ordinance be submitted to a vote of the people. The city council shall forthwith, after the registrar of voters has attached his or her certificate to the petition, the city shall call an election to be held within 90 days thereafter. That's from the document that councilors you swore to uphold when you took your oath of office. It doesn't say you will call an election, but only if you think the certified petition is legitimate. It doesn't say you will call an election, but only if you think the city won't be sued by doing it. No, the charter says if you receive the certified petition, you have to call an election. It's not optional. You have the charter. You have the certified petition, he says. You have the vote to call an election. Either you vote to call a referendum on the people's petition language, or you violate your oath of office, which signals a disdain for the rule of law that forfeits any moral claim you have to the oath of office. Jeff Sadow. Now my few comments.
All right, I'm going to pause right there for just a second. I want people to note, now we've got 3 news girls back there in the back. And although it's a little empty today, last week it was mostly full. Wasn't standing room only or anything quite, but was mostly full. So just want to point that out. And that I did acknowledge Mark Smith saying maybe they're in the kitchen debating whether they should warm up the Zamboni. That was actually good.
Yeah, now I do want to point out that, Mark Smith also said that Vince Maggio was in the meeting as well. So that would be all but 2 councilmen that were participants in a meeting prior to the council meeting. So
the meeting before the meeting.
If Vince Maggio was in there, then that means that they were having them a meeting before the meeting to whether or not to fire up the Zamboni per Mark Smith.
Yeah. Very interesting. And Colonel Crockett says there were about 10 on the left of the screen, so there were a few more folks there. Okay, here we go.
For those who missed Micah McCarty last Wednesday, wow, what a powerful program they had. I want to share a few references of the Declaration of Independence that was read by Stephen Parr on that show.
Specific to the agenda.
Absolutely. This is about what it's all about. Governments are instituted among men.
For those, I hate to interrupt him doing that, but for those of you that don't know, that was Jeff Free interrupting the colonel to try to break his train of thought and try to get him off topic. You know, trying their little tactics. Okay, here we go.
No way. Jeff wouldn't do. I mean, Free wouldn't do that. He's not that.
Am I
Yeah, he would.
being too mean and honest and direct?
No, they wouldn't try to screw up a speaker or screw the public up or silence speech. They don't do that, right?
No, never, as we're really going to see here in just a little bit. All right, here we go.
Deriving their just powers from the consent of the government. That whenever, this is absolutely in support of the mayor's resolution. That deriving their just powers from the consent of the government, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers such form as to them shall be most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Mayor, thank you very much for keeping this on the agenda. We might need to keep this going all the way through the date that this was supposed to be on the election. It needs to keep coming up. We need your support. Thank you.
All right, now, we are about to get into the fireworks
Additional
territory.
comments?
Y'all pay attention to this little exchange
All
here.
right, go ahead and
So-
cast your votes.
We're gonna have a.
All right, go ahead.
Well, yeah. Before the fireworks, there, you know, the colonel made some really amazing comments right there.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Why are there no Rex and Duke audio clips?
Okay. I'm going to quit addressing Mark until he actually gets a real profile. Here's what I told you, Mark. It's real simple. You name which city council meeting that we're all three going to get up and publicly address the city council, and I promise you, we'll get up and speak. How about that? So, just let us know when you're going to be there, open public meeting, and it'll be no problem. Otherwise, we have a soapbox of a couple of hours every week. So, all right, sorry, Duke. That's it. No more addressing the fly.
I'm loving it. Keep going. Let's have some fireworks. Let's get through it.
Yeah, let's get to the fireworks because this is great. And this is just the beginnings of the fireworks show, people.
Chance for comment?
About,
The council?
sure, go ahead.
I'm just checking. Why are we removing this? I feel if we're gonna remove this one, we might as well go ahead and remove number 5 also.
Number 5 on the agenda item, for those of you that don't know, number 5 was the one to request that Stephanie Agee, the registrar of voters, decertify the petition. So that was number 5. What Hammond is saying is, hey, if we're going to remove this one, why don't we just remove number 5? Okay, here we go.
Can nobody give me an answer? I think I'm due an answer. I deserve an answer.
Mr. Jacobs, I'd like to, if you'll please respond to the
Here
fact
we go.
of inaction and the action that we, upon your advice, are taking to move forward relative to this petition.
You have a petition.
Before you start, Mr. Jacobs.
Please, I have the floor, and I've asked the man a question. You yielded the floor to me. Is that not correct, Mr. Free?
First of all,
I
you
yield.
don't have to yell at me. You can
I
talk
have
to
the
me,
floor.
but you're not going to yell at me.
I have the floor.
Talk all you want.
Good.
See,
Did
I
he
love
yield-
Hammond's.
did he-
I love
did he yield
Hammond's.
the floor?
Well, actually, he did. Now, I'll back up a little bit. Look, I hate to do it, but I'll give Queen David a little bit of the edge on this one because if you look back, hold on. Let's play this again and watch close.
Well, he didn't.
Why are we
Watch,
removing
watch.
this? I feel if we're going to remove this one, we might as well go ahead and remove number 5 also.
Crickets, crickets, crickets. Hold on.
I mean, can nobody give me an answer? I think I'm due an answer. I deserve an answer.
Mr. Jacobs, I'd like to.
Now, watch right here. All right. He didn't do it officially, but Hammonds did give him the nod. Right there is where I hate to do this, but that's where you see Montgomery look. I know they didn't do it officially.
Yeah, but we're going to disagree a little bit. He didn't say, hey, I want all y'all to know you got the opportunity to phone a friend, but you can only use that card one time.
I understand, and I agree with you 100%.
Montgomery should have answered the question if he's going to speak.
Right. Well, and they didn't do it, the normal way that you do per Robert's Rules of Order and all that. So the whole thing was like monkeys and footballs. But anyways, okay, here we go. See,
If you'll please respond to the fact of inaction and the action that we, upon your advice, are taking to move forward relative to this petition.
You have a petition.
Before you start, Mr. Jacobs.
Please, I have the floor, and I've asked the man a question. You yielded the floor to me. Is that not correct, Mr. Free?
Yes. First of all, you don't have to yell at me. You can talk to me, but you're not going to yell at me.
I have the floor.
Talk all you want.
Good.
I thought he was going to invite him outside to the parking lot for a minute. I got to say, my money probably be on Hammonds. I mean, David ain't no little guy, but Hammonds definitely ain't no little boy.
Oh no, my money's on Hammonds. I mean,
all day long.
I'm gonna take Hammonds against Jacobs and Montgomery together. I mean,
and Jacobs is just sitting over there twiddling his thumbs. Do 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 do.
He's like, good gosh. He's like, what have I got going here?
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Now, Mr. Jacobs, you have the floor.
Again, and I think we've been through this at multiple council meetings. We have a petition that was presented to the council that was certified by the Register of Voters. The issue is, was the petition properly certified? It is my opinion, it was Ms. Bell's opinion, the outside counsel, that the petition was improperly certified due to the lack of information that was in the petition that is required pursuant to 18:3, which is the Louisiana Election Code, which is the date of birth of each signer or signatory. It doesn't say, there are 7 things for a registrar or voter that must be contained in the petition to be properly certified. If in fact you're lacking in one of those, and all the Attorney General's opinions that have come before this bear that out, plus the case law that's out there, if you're lacking one of those pieces of information, then the petition is improperly certified, and the process itself, it's step number 1, has not been followed correctly. I understand that there's a difference of opinion as to what's required and what's not required. But it says what's required. It doesn't say that the year of birth or the date of birth must be easily ascertainable or must be able to be determined. It says it has to be included. And therefore, in my opinion, Ms. Bell.
He reminds me of the Charlie Brown teacher. Wah, 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 wah. So he does, we'll go back to it here in a second, but he does keep droning on for a few minutes. It's a lot of what we've already heard ad nauseum.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to, he says, okay, that it has to be included. Well, okay, but never once do you hear him say what the voter ID number, what does that mean? What is a voter ID number, and what does a voter ID number delineate for a voter? What does it contain? What is it made of?
Look, I hate to defend the dark side over here. He does get into some of that. I can't remember if it's in the next couple of minutes or on down in the deal. He does kind of address some of that. I mean, it's the same old tired argument, and he claims that there's court precedent for decertifying petitions. But I got news for you. I don't want to reveal too much, but there are court cases that absolutely go our way. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, so, the thing is, yeah, there are court cases that, basically say what he's saying, but he doesn't exactly articulate all of the issues pertaining to this. He doesn't articulate the fact that we're talking about amendment to a home rule charter for the city of Bossier City that is unique to the city of Bossier City, and almost no part of the city charter of Bossier City will you find in the statute. You know, the you're not going to find it in there. But and I think he's going to get to that part, and we're going to point it out here in just a second.
All right, here we go. Let's continue on because, some of this, again, he's rehashing, but it's important for full context of the meeting. And trust me, we're going to get some more fireworks here shortly.
Opinion, and we did ask the Attorney General to weigh in on the issue. Unfortunately, due to a conflict, he has refused to do so. So until this issue is resolved and there's a difference of opinion, then it could come up at any time. It could come up a week from now. It could come up a year from now. It could come up 2 years from now if this term limit amendment to the charter ordinance, whatever it is passed by the people. It could come up 10 years from now. And so if the process was started improperly and presented to the city improperly, then that landmine never goes away until there's a definitive determination. Now, as I understand it,
now wait a minute.
All right, let me pause it.
That landmine, as he's saying, is always there, and it never goes away unless it is, definitively decided or whatever. Well, the question is who would do that? Who would decide that? Rex, who would be the people?
Well, I guess it would probably go to the 26 JDC right off the bat.
Well, yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is who would it be that would have to sue to decide it?
Well, it would have to be the city council, right?
Oh, really? Why does it have to be the city council? Or are you saying, or wait a minute, you're saying the candidates for city council?
Well, the candidates. Yeah, let me rephrase that. The candidates.
So then the question should be for everybody watching this, why is it that the city attorney and the graybeards, including Maggio, he's a graybeard now, including them, why is it that they're so hell-bent on the city, not honoring what the charter says? If you get a certified petition, you got to take action. And, as the colonel pointed out, it doesn't say anywhere that, if your opinion is that you don't like it, you can just lawfare it with the city attorney. But why is it the city's taking it up? Why isn't it David Montgomery with his hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever, however much it is, in a campaign donation account that Manchac has donated to religiously? I mean, he's got plenty of funding from Manchac and other people in his campaign. Why don't he use that money to litigate it? Oh, I know. Wait a minute, because we're cheap and we would rather use all of y'all's taxpayer dollars to litigate it. Oh, that's why we'll use your money. And I make I make that point on something that's going to come up here in just a little bit. So let's keep going.
All right, here we go.
We've talked about retroactivity and what this would take into effect. It's purported to take effect, I think, approximately 2 years from now, maybe a little less, when everybody's up for re-election. So why don't we find out now? All right. The Term Limits Coalition, or we haven't had anybody who's come to the city with a writ of mandamus asking the court to make a determination. Therefore, if the city asked the court to make a determination,
it almost sounds like he was wanting somebody to show up to drag it into court. It's almost as if that's what they wanted.
Well, we had this conversation after the meeting last week, and, I said, look, if he mentioned lawsuit one time in that meeting last week, it was mentioned, I don't know, a dozen or whatever. I'm being a little facetious there, but not far. It's like he was asking to be sued, which is, what lawyers and ex-judges do.
Yep. Wanted to lawfare this thing. Anyway, keep rolling.
All right, here we go.
If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. it can be placed on the ballot well before the expiration of the current terms. And if it's passed by the people, then it could go into effect. Essentially, you're losing nothing now. That if you have this determination before the expiration of the current terms of the mayor and the city council, then once that determination is made, then you either place it on the ballot if the petition was properly certified and I'm wrong. If I'm right, then, if term limits want to be imposed, either by referendum or by a charter commission, they can be imposed. But I think we'd have an answer back fairly quickly, at least from the trial court, probably before the end of the year.
Oh, before the end of the year.
Well, look,
That's all.
he was just like Robert Berry. He felt pretty confident about what would come out of the 26th, and
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. He's confident.
Oh wait, he was the same dumbass judge that ruled on the Robert Berry case and all the shenanigans that went on with the attorneys there. He was the same judge that ruled that Robert Berry was fine and dandy.
Oh, that's right. And the AG took issue with it and
kind of spanked him.
A little bit of a spanking here. So that's interesting.
Yeah. All right. So let's continue on, folks. It's almost getting to fireworks time because Hammonds is back up to bat again here in a minute.
So then what are you going to do? You going to send it to the trial court?
There are two things that are on the agenda as I understand them. One is to request the Registrar of Voters to decertify the petition due to what both legal counsel, myself and Ms. Bell, deem as improper. If she so refuses to do that, then I'm asking for consent from the city council to file an action for a declaratory judgment, put it in front of a judge, let the judge look at it and say, thumbs up, thumbs down.
So by us doing that, we're pretty much telling the Registrar of Voters that she doesn't know how to do her job, once again.
I think we had this discussion.
Yeah, we did.
Last meeting, and I believe, yes, I'm not telling the Registrar of Voters, I think she made an honest mistake. I don't think she had any nefarious motive. I don't think she was willfully ignorant. I believe she made a mistake.
So in other words,
we could sit here.
He's saying she was wrong.
Yeah, well, and since they're all opinions, is that they have an opinion, they therefore can just ignore the charter and not not do anything. They can ignore the will of the people, ignore the charter, ignore their oaths of office because they have an opinion.
I'll again quote Dalton from Roadhouse: opinions vary. And again, I don't want to reveal too much, but there are also some legal opinions that say he is 180 degrees wrong. And some people, the people that have those legal opinions, let's just say, have been very involved in exactly these types of litigations.
Yeah, and a lot of people, there's some people messaging me, and there's some people, I saw a couple of comments scroll through here. Y'all need to follow along because you're making some suggestions, and maybe you're saying it because you've already watched all of the council meeting, but a lot of people haven't. Maybe you don't know, but stay through the end of this, and you're going to see where do we go from here? What's fixing to happen? You're going to get the answers. It's all going to be here. Just hang on.
And I did notice, a good thing that you said that, because I did notice that the YouTube feed for the Bossier City Council was at like 150 or 60 views at the end of the feed. So the good news is there are a lot of people that are starting to really, really pay attention to the City Council. So we're glad to hear that. But you're right. Stick with us. Put your seatbelts on because we've got a little more to go here.
Argue about it all afternoon. That's fine. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, President. Basically, why I'm putting this up there is just to let the citizens have a voice, to let them hear what they believe in. Not one time have I seen someone come up to the podium and say, "Hey, y'all need to work there all your life. We don't need no term limits." Everybody's been saying they want term limits. I just say, let the people, they voted us in here, let them speak, okay?
You know, Tommy actually, boy, this is topsy-turvy world. Tommy actually brings up a good point. Has there been anybody publicly comment or speak against term limits yet that you remember, dude?
Only the councilman.
Yeah.
Only them and Jacobs. That's the only ones.
Colonel, Wes, Ryan, all of y'all in the comments, do y'all that have been to the city council meetings or watching these, do you remember anybody speaking publicly or commenting against term limits so far? I mean, we know it's not 100% support, but I'm just wondering because I don't remember anybody. Okay, here we go. Let's see.
There will be now. They'll drum some up. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
you can count on that. But
Right. All right, here we go.
That's all I'm saying.
Lots of awkward silence at this meeting.
Sure.
Oh, look at there, Mr.
Thank
Settle.
you. John Settle, 1915 Citizens Bank Drive. The only question that I have is if there would be a time limit, if you're going to adopt number 5, if there would be a time limit for the clerk to, the registrar to respond, and then also would there be a time period in number 6? In other words, would you give X days to the registrar, and then if nothing happens or it doesn't happen the way Mr. Jacobs believes appropriate, then that he would have a certain amount of time to file? I think if not, these things could kind of drag on without any sunset. So that's my only thought or request or suggestion. Thank you, gentlemen.
which is their plan. That's
Sure.
been the plan all along.
The
I
language.
think the appropriate thing would be to address those
All right.
issues when we get to number 5 and number 6.
Okay. All right, let's cast our vote to amend. the
And they do talk about it. All right, let's see what the vote is. So this is the vote to remove Tommy's request to get term limits on the ballot. His agenda
Motion
item to do it
carries.
again.
All right, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
And Chris brings up a
First by
point here.
Councilman Montgomery, second by Councilman Williams.
Real quick, Mr. President, Madam Clerk, I see the news media is looking at the vote on the
Yes.
screen.
Trying to get it to show up. There we go.
All right, folks. So you can see it right there. And there was some question on some of the comments that I posted or maybe we did as Bossier Watch or whatever about Chris Smith and Brian Hammond's not being for term limits. Look, I disagree with one of Chris's votes last week, but I can tell you for sure Chris Smith and Brian Hammonds, and I would even argue Tommy Chandler, are absolutely for term limits. Tommy's big mistake is he has not fired Jacobs yet.
Yeah, that no doubt. And any words to the contrary, I mean that's hogwash. I call BS on it.
Yeah, we'll put our, little bitty reputations on the line. That Chris Smith and Brian Hammonds absolutely support term limits. They're literally the only ones fighting for it, other than
Well-
Tommy.
Yeah, and Tommy Chandler,
And
no
Tommy.
doubt.
Okay,
Vince Maggio is not on board with term limits. Absolutely not.
He is not. Now there was. I'm going to skip it in the essence of time, but there was Colonel Crockett gives some more comments, and he points out that the losers in this vote are the people, and rightfully so, because that's the whole goal: is get this on the ballot and let the people decide one way or the other. All right, so I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to go here to Wes's comments about decertifying.
Wes Marriott, Sobo Lot 4308 Parkway Drive. Good afternoon again. Today I'd like to discuss an utterly ridiculous proposition, but strangely not the most ridiculous item on Bossier City's agenda today. The proposed resolution asking for the registrar of voters to decertify the petition from the Bossier Term Limits Coalition. First, it's important to understand there's no legal statutory authority that allows the registrar of voter to decertify a petition. The Louisiana Revised Statutes simply do not provide for such an action. asking for decertification under the guise of revised statute 18.3 misconstrues the law and sets a dangerous precedent. This very recommendation by our city attorney should call into question his ability to navigate the basic tenets of Louisiana law. Secondly, legal experts consulted by Sobo Live from across the state have clarified that Louisiana Revised Statute 18.3 does not apply universally to every petition. Where cities have their own charters outlining the specifics for their petitions, those provisions take precedence.
Yep.
The Bossier City Charter has explicit requirements for how petitions must be addressed. Therefore, any attempt to use Revised Statute 18.3 as a blanket justification for decertification is flawed. It's a ridiculous proposition to ignore our city charter's requirement that are actually in black and white for a proposed course of action that doesn't exist in any legal or statutory framework. Thirdly, it's worth mentioning again and again and again that though the petition did not contain the birth year of the signatory, it did include voter IDs. These are unique, personally identifiable numbers linked to each voter ID's file. This file contains all the necessary information, including name, address, precinct, date of birth, and their signature. Our registrar of voters, Stephanie Agee, and her staff personally verified each of the 2,977 signatures on the petition. The petition met and exceeded verification standards, ensuring that each signature was legitimate and valid. To propose decertifying a petition that aligns with the city charter's guidelines and has been verified by the registrar is a slap in the face to every voter in Bossier City and continues the pattern of reckless disregard for the law by this council. There is no possible future where the registrar of voters decertifies a certified petition, regardless of what you've been told. For these reasons, I strongly urge the City Council to vote against this resolution. Every single vote for this ridiculous resolution is a vote against the people of Bossier City and a nail in the coffin of your political career.
Now, I don't know who that guy's speechwriter is, but you need to give him a raise, Wes. Whoever you got for your speech writing is doing a good job.
I got no words. I mean, this guy is bringing the heat, and he is saying, I think, what everybody that has signed this petition feels. I mean, and you know what? I don't think anybody up there on that council heard him, with the exception of Tommy Chandler, Chris Smith, and Brian Hammonds. The rest of them, they didn't hear a word he said.
All right. So here we go. I'm going to skip ahead just a couple of seconds to John Settle. He is basically doing the reminder about the time deal, but that'll kind of segue into the next thing that we need to hear.
John Settle, 1915 Citizens Bank Drive. Again, I would suggest or request that there might be a deadline for this to response that's requested. That way, I think it would be clear then what actions should be taken by the city attorney, but I just think that would probably be appropriate if y'all, for your consideration. Thank you.
Mr. Jacobs, first of all, I think, and Phyllis, if we change this, we'd have to put it back on in 2 weeks? No, because it's a resolution?
Yes, sir. It's a resolution, so you can make an amendment to it and.
So what's your?
I anticipate that if the council approves the resolution, that I'll have a letter out probably by, I would say, noon tomorrow. I was anticipating, giving, a work week, 5 business days to respond. If there wasn't a response, then depending on what happens with the second resolution, moving forward in that way.
David Crockett, 653, excuse me, 653 Dumaine Drive, Bossier City, Louisiana. Again, I have a ghost guest, Jeff Sadow. He says, I hope it's clear to all counselors that a vote for this item absolutely drips of irony and hypocrisy. But great minds think alike. That's you and Jeff, not me. Over the past month or more, we've heard the pious speeches about how we have to be sure of the petition and the process to bring about the referendum on its contents has followed the law exactly as written. Well, I would also point out with Jeff that 5.01 doesn't give reference to 1803 or any of this guidance either. So we're told nothing to do with the issue of term limits, but seeking a neutral application of the law. Now you have before you an item which abandons all of that to reveal the previous pristine proclamations were nothing more than hot air. Nowhere in the charter, nowhere in statute, and nowhere in the Constitution is there any mention that the registrar of voters can decertify the petition already certified, much less outline a process to do that, as this resolution demands from the Bossier Parish Registrar. So, it's entirely invented out of thin air. Worse, it's undisputably extra-legal, made up to accomplish an agenda. That agenda, of course, is to stop voters from having their chance to amend term limits into the charter. A vote for this jettisons any pretense of impartiality that you have on this matter. You vote for this request of the registrar to do something that she doesn't have the authority to do. So you're against term limits, and you are desperate to stop their amendment from getting into the charter. Vote for this, and we are little more than a boy who sees that he has no clothes on, which isn't flattering. It's not a thing to have to witness for more than one reason. That's from Jeff Sadow. I want to praise the Bossier Parish Registrar. There's a lot of insinuation that they did not do their job. She told me repeatedly that she could not give me legal advice. When I requested a copy of a past petition, just as if I had done an information request or anything else, she gave me a copy of a past petition. That's what I followed. It had voter ID on it because nothing in your charter references 18.3. Nothing that the state gave me in that pamphlet that I followed meticulously as much as it's vague that I could to write a petition, nothing was clear about that. So basically, you're trying to put everything on the people when your charter does not specify details. So maybe your charter's flawed. Maybe the people didn't mess up. Because our petition included voter ID, the registrar was able to absolutely identify your electors. Thank you for covering that, Wes. I rather doubt that you will be successful in this effort to decertify the petition. We contend that our petition is valid and you're violating the city charter, as Jeff Sadow states. Thank you.
Now, I want to point out something there. So, you know, he said nowhere in the city charter does it reference 18.3. No, nowhere does it say that anywhere in there. But you know what it does say in the city charter? It does delineate a percentage of required signatures in a specific, unique way. In fact, a way that is unique to Bossier City and Bossier City alone. You won't find the requirement in any other place in the whole state of Louisiana. So the point that Wes, the point that the Colonel was making, and the point that Jacobs has not made to the other councilmen, and what he's not said to them is that, hey, your city charter, it does delineate a specific way that a petition has to be done. That right. It is not in the state statute. It's not in any other government in Louisiana. It's unique to Louisiana. No, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but what if it's not in the statute, if it's not in 18.3, how is it that Bossier City can delineate exactly, a percentage requirement or how that percentage requirement has to be done? How can they do that?
Well, that's a good point. Maybe because, well, we won't get into all that, but maybe because that portion of the statutes has nothing to do with these types of petitions. That might be the answer.
But Jacob said maybe he's wrong.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're fixing to see. Okay, so let's skip. There was some conversation about language to the language of decertification that Darby did. I'm going to actually skip all that. Let's jump ahead to Chris Smith and his bold announcement that he makes right here.
For the record, I'm never going to sue the city to run for a fourth term. But do you know, Mr. Jacobs, has there ever been a time where a registrar has had to decertify a petition because it was deemed faulty.
Listen to this.
There
This
is case law where a registrar has been forced to decertify the petition due to, I guess, form requirements, lack of information. Yes, sir.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. And again, we don't want to reveal too much information. But in your conversations and research with particular legal people, was there ever any mention of any cases like this? I'm not familiar, but I'm certainly no legal scholar, so I'm going to go try to spend a few days and look them up.
Yeah, I'm going to look, but no, I've not come across one that where a registrar was forced to decertify. I haven't seen it. I'm not saying it's not there, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, kind of like he's not saying that Stephanie Agee didn't do her job and that she's, incorrect about that. We're not saying that Jacobs is a moron and he's incorrect about it, but we're just kind of alluding to that. But we'll see. All right, here we go.
Additional comments from the council?
All right.
Cast your vote.
Here's the vote. This is to goad the registrar of voters, Stephanie Agee, and her office into decertifying the Bossier Term Limits Coalition. Now, I got to say, this is not legally binding on Stephanie at all, and she literally has the AG's office as her counsel.
Yeah, my bet is that she's going to tell them to pound sand.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what I see coming here.
I know Stephanie, and she's pretty feisty. So I think she'll have no problem telling them to stick it or just not responding at all. Okay, here we go. We're about to get good and to the real fireworks here in just a second. So I'm going to skip on ahead to Mr. West strolling up to the podium again. And this might be the greatest thing ever besides Hammonds and Montgomery getting into it. Here we go.
And when they get square in the middle of this, I've got a cut waiting to share my screen when we get to the crescendo here.
Yeah, okay. Just make sure and tell me to stop, but I think I know what point you're talking about. Here we go.
Again, Madam Clerk, it appeared that you had the vote for the mayor's agenda item on the screen when the votes were just cast. Again, West Marriott Sobo Live, 4308 Parkway Drive. Again, I'm not going to mince words, but I'll be as blunt as council rules allow. Now we're talking about adopting a resolution that gives the city attorney the authority to take legal action and determine the validity of the petition from the Bossier Term Limits Coalition. Maybe I missed something, but I didn't think it was in our city attorney's job description to determine if petition was certified. That's the job of our registrar of voters. And her signature affixed to the petition and her cover letter and the certification stated it's certified. So let's stick within the bounds of existing case law. So what exactly have we been doing since the petition was delivered on July 10th? It's now September 5th, and we've seen zero action in the form of an ordinance, a ballot question, or any semblance of progress. But what we have seen is wasted time and taxpayer money. Weeks were squandered waiting for an outside opinion from an unbiased attorney who just so happens to have represented Mr. Montgomery 10 years ago.
Mr. Freed.
And even her opinion stated...
I would ask that he be removed from the council chambers because of that kind of statement.
If you'd like, Mr. Montgomery, I can pause my comments to remind you of your words on July 6th when you asked for quiet while you were speaking. You said it's about decorum and having respect for your fellow man.
Agenda item.
Yet you continuously disrespect me in
request
these
that
chambers.
this man be removed from the council chambers.
All right, let's stop right there.
I think
that has got to be the greatest thing ever.
This is better than the Zamboni. I think we got to play this again.
I gotta say this is better than the Zamboni moment. Okay, so let me back up.
Yeah, we got to take that back and we got to play it again.
Okay, here we go.
This is what Bubba Williams, Jeff Darby, Vince Maggio, and Jeffrey. This is what y'all are defending. This is what you stand for. This is what you're protecting. So
all
go
right.
ahead. You're carrying the water for this. So
Weeks were squandered waiting for an outside opinion from an unbiased attorney who just so happens to have represented Mr. Montgomery 10 years ago.
Mr. Freed.
And even her opinion stated...
I would ask that he be removed from the council chambers because of that kind of statement.
If you'd like, Mr. Montgomery, I can pause my comments to remind you of your words on July 6th when you asked for quiet while you were speaking. You said it's about
Mr.
decorum
Freed, this
and
has
having
nothing to
respect
do
for your
with
fellow
the
man.
agenda item.
Yet you continuously disrespect me in
request
these
that this
chambers.
man be removed from the council chambers.
Mr. President, would you like me to?
Specifically to what the agenda item is specifically?
Sure,
and
I
quit
prepared
making
a
the
page.
accusations against council members?
Well, if he
Is that
doesn't believe it, I can
possible?
enter this into the records, Mr. President.
don't-
This is his name and Ms. Bell in a
I don't care.
deposition.
All right. Let's pause right there because I think that's probably the part where you want me to pause it.
It is exactly the part where I wanted you to pause it. And the issue for a lot of you, what we're talking about here was Charles Jacobs, when they went about to, and again, it was more delayed to get this outside opinion that was supposed to be unbiased, no affiliation with Bossier. At least that was what was alluded to the council and to the public when he first, brought this idea out, but come to find out, actually, you know what? There happened to be a connection. In fact, I mean, I ain't taking credit because we've had it in the Link Coleman stuff, and we've seen it years ago, actually. But in fact, the deposition of David Montgomery, Katie Bell, she was an attorney present during the deposition.
Yes,
And
she was.
there's only 2 times that you will see or even be able to tell or know during David Montgomery's deposition that Katie Bell even exists. And those 2 occasions are specifically that she objected and made an issue or took a position or even popped her head up were about questions pertaining to the Montgomery insurance business. That's the only 2 times that she said anything and objected. Here's the document right here, and I can show the other document here in a second. So for Jacobs to say that, and here in a minute, he'll say it's a complete lie what West Marriott said, that she didn't represent David Montgomery. Technically, he's right. She wasn't there representing David Montgomery. He's absolutely correct. She was there representing the Metropolitan Planning Commission. But why is it the only 2 times that she said anything was to the defense of David Montgomery when there's questions regarding his insurance business? Why is that the only time she popped her head up? And why is it that he's taken such offense to that being raised? And why is it that the rest of the graybeards are more than willing to carry the water that what West Marriott is saying is a lie, an untruth? It's not a lie. It's not. Here it is right here in black and white. And maybe that's what they hate the most is you can't argue with black and white. And Miss Bell, why is it that the only time that you even raised your head was objecting during questioning about, issues pertaining to Montgomery's insurance? And if you're renting it, well, how does does he insure maybe he insures the MPC? Maybe we ain't checked that.
Well, maybe so. And words, you're correct, of course. Words do matter. And Jacobs is parsing his words very carefully with this because they didn't think anybody was going to go back and check. And they said, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, but they said that Miss Bell had no prior relationship. She was a completely unbiased opinion, and that is simply not the case. Now, they can sit there. David reminds me of when my kids were little and you caught one of them getting in the cookie jar or something like that. They would immediately get defensive and blow up. No, I wasn't getting the cookies out of there, and I didn't leave the lid off the cookie jar. All the while, they were guilty.
So, Rex, there's over 150 people watching live viewers. Thank you all for watching. So I want to ask all of you a question. Earlier in the show, I made the point, why is it that the city has to sue and get this answer on behalf or to the benefit, as the colonel pointed out, this doesn't benefit the citizens of Bossier. It does, however, benefit the graybeards that don't want to lose power. Why is it that the city has to spend taxpayer dollars to, find this answer out on behalf of all of these guys that don't want to lose power and don't want to let go? Is it the same reason that Katie Bell was popping her head up while she was being paid by the MPC to defend against questions regarding insurance of David Montgomery individually in a deposition that have nothing to do with the MPC? Is that the reason why? Is so that these guys are being, defended by your taxpayer dollars? Is that the why? Is it because David Montgomery is a cheap date? He's the guy that's going to go with you and drink all your liquor and then not even leave the tip and expect you to pay the bill? I think that's exactly the case.
You very well may be on to something there. All right. Let's proceed on. There is even more to this. Here we go.
That's not what this
Well, he's
vote is
interrupting
about.
me.
That's not what this
Mr.
vote is
Free,
about.
I respectfully request that he
Would
be
you like me to
removed.
finish my
He is
comments,
not
Mr.
going to
President?
Can you
speak
do
to
it
the items.
without speaking directly to a council?
I'm speaking
Can
to you, Mr. President,
No, you're
yes.
speaking about one of my council members.
Correct, and I'm
Stop.
100% allowed to speak about my
not. You're
representative
allowed
government
to speak
under the
specifically
First
to
Amendment
this
of the
agenda item.
Constitution. I apologize that your rules encroach on the First Amendment, but I'm not going to stop. I'm going to read my...
That's great.
I wish. Why did Jeff Free not cuff him and stuff him? You should have removed him.
Oh, we all know why, because he knew he'd have an even bigger problem legally then. They can make those rules like they want, but he knows they're, Sadow was right in his article, they're in a big gray area with their rules. And that was a classic way to turn what he said back against him, Wes. Kudos to you. That was masterful.
Law don't go around here, dog.
All right, here we go.
Would you like to be
because in
removed
their
from the chambers?
totality,
Would that make you feel better?
if you want to violate the Constitution,
I'm not
you feel
violating the
emboldened to do
Constitution.
so,
I'm
then
not-
Oh, in other words, I double dog dare you to kick me out of here.
Wait a minute, back up. Back up about 5 seconds. Did you hear what Jeff Free said?
Yeah, hold on. Let's see. Let me get it. Let's see. I'm going to back us up. It'll be a few seconds, but we'll be close. All right, hold on. Here we go. Listen up.
To speak
under the
specifically
First
to
Amendment
this
of the
agenda item.
Constitution. I apologize that your rules encroach on the First Amendment, but I'm not going to stop. I'm going to read my prepared comments.
Would you like to be
because
removed
in
from
their
the chambers?
totality,
Would that make you feel better?
if you want to violate the Constitution,
Wait a minute. Did you hear that?
Did
Would
he
you
say
like to-
be
in
removed?
chambers, would you like to? Yeah, I mean, was it what chambers was he talking about? Was he talking about?
He was going to send Wes down to the principal's office.
I think he was threatening him.
Oh, he was definitely threatening him. Wait, it gets even better because he is going to directly threaten him here in just about 2 minutes. There ain't no if, and, or but about it.
and you feel emboldened to do so, then I encourage you to do that. But I
Get
would like
specific
to
to the agenda item and finish, please.
I would like to finish my comments. May I continue?
If you can do it without making
Sure.
accusations against councilmen.
As if that wasn't enough, we also killed a lot of time awaiting a legal opinion from the Attorney General, which was flat out denied. So I ask you, Mr. President, what on earth are we doing? Let's be clear. Mr. Jacobs' job is not to twist the law into a pretzel just to keep our long-serving incumbents in their comfortable chairs. No, his job is to ensure that its city and elected officials and employees abide by the law. That's it. The council is considering giving Mr. Jacobs the authority to further delay what the citizens clearly desire. This is nothing short of mocking the democratic process. We did not elect any of you or appoint the city attorney to be a gatekeeper to the ballot box, but that's precisely what you guys seem keen on becoming. In Title 14, Section 132, Louisiana law prohibits the intentional alteration, falsification, or concealment of any record or document filed or deposited under authority of law in any public office or with any public officer. What Mr. Jacobs is asking Ms. Agee to do, or threatening to compel her to do via litigation, smells a lot like public corruption,
He's
and it
speaking
appears
to
to
number
violate the law.
5, Mr. Free.
Do not continue to give Mr. Jacobs any more latitude when it comes to the term limits petition.
Just ignores
Vote
it.
down this ridiculous resolution. Bossier City deserves better than to be laughed out of another courtroom.
Drop the mic.
So David
Mr. Free, if I
Montgomery
may.
just doesn't want any speech. He doesn't want anybody to be able to say anything. If
No,
he
he
had
doesn't.
his way, he would
It's his
gag.
meeting. It's
Yeah,
his council and his meeting.
It's his city. I mean, he would run everybody out on a rail, and you would have to kiss the feet of the statue at the entrance to gain access.
Right.
That would be the rules. Oh, and
Right.
you can't speak.
Yeah, you can't speak. Okay. Let's continue on with the circus because it's not over quite yet.
Yes, sir.
And I would say this, if there's any type of accusation about the mayor or any other councilman sitting up here, the allegation that Ms. Bell has represented Mr. Montgomery in the past in his personal capacity is absolutely false. Ms. Bell was engaged
Share
by the
screen.
Municipal Planning Commission in the Coleman.
All right. Hold on for a second, folks. As a reminder, let's see, share Duke's screen. No
I mean-
relationship. That looks like David Montgomery in the upper left corner, and that looks like Ms. Bell, and we've confirmed that it was Katie Bell.
I'm looking. I'm trying to find any reference to the MPC in here. I'm not seeing it. I mean, it can y'all see it? Because I can't see it. I'm looking at it. I don't see MPC anywhere in here. All I see is talking about Jimmy Hall giving advice to Montgomery, or whether he did or he didn't, regarding ethics and violations relating to his company, insurance, and Katie Bell's got a problem with it. I don't know how the MPC, the Metropolitan Planning Commission, I don't know. Y'all explain to me how it's a lie, because I got.
We didn't make up the documents.
I got to be a 26th judicial district judge to understand, I guess.
Right. Now, I want to point out again, I'll put the comment up there again. Wes says, again, hats off to the marshal's office. They upheld their oath to the Constitution. And he says that he heard their chief deputy got an earful from Montgomery after the meeting demanding that Wes be removed.
Oh, well,
right.
I guess he's going to go intimidate the law enforcement. So all my friends, that have a commission, all my friends that wear a badge, I mean, this is the guy that you're going to stand with? Is this the type of government that should be representing you? I mean, a lot of you that are there now, you don't remember the days of mandatory overtime. Think about that a second, Rex. Y'all think about this. This council, with the exception of the new guys, these guys were on board with mandatory overtime for public safety people, meaning that, you have a gunfight or you have a fire or a mass casualty incident or whatever, and at the end of that shift, it don't matter what, at the end of that, we'll mandatory overtime them. We'll make them stay and take another 12 or 24 hours of that regardless of what they've been through, regardless.
Well, and this is
this guy was fine with it. This is
kind of a tangent, but remember, this is the same guy who was for spending money, ridiculous amounts of money, stupid amounts of money on tennis courts and a statue to Walter O. Bigby Sr., of all things, when they could have used that money potentially to go to law enforcement and whatever else.
While your pay is substandard, your staffing is substandard, you got good equipment, but you ain't making no money. You're not making what you deserve, and your staffing, you're shorthanded. I mean, you guys know I'm telling the truth.
Yeah. Well,
And let's not even go down the road of the chiefs, the police chiefs and the fire chiefs that these guys have enabled to run over good people down there in Bossier City. You know, why do we still stand behind these guys? Why do we do it? We are enabling it.
yes, we are. All right, so let's we got a couple more minutes here, but this is critical here in about 30 seconds or go. I want you to in about 30 seconds, I want you to closely listen to the comments from Jeff Free.
In litigation, and she has never, under any circumstances, and in fact, she ran a conflict check.
Oh, she ran a
I
conflict
submitted the
check,
names
dude.
of the mayor and all councilmen to Keen Miller.
Gosh, that's
And
all
I
the whole
said, please
problem.
run a
We should have
conflicts
known.
check in order to make sure that neither Keen Miller nor yourself has represented any councilman or the mayor, anybody who would be affected by this. And that is just what Mr. Marriott is saying is outright false.
He really didn't say it. He's just reiterating what's on the document.
Well, here's the thing. He has the benefit that he can get up there and he can say whatever, because guess what? If you want to check him,
Nobody's gonna challenge him.
no, if you want to challenge him and you want to check it, guess what? He's who you got to go through to get the documents or to ask for them. And he's
Right.
so what's he going to do?
Literally the fox guarding the hen house.
Yeah, what's he going to do? Give you incriminating? He's not going to give you a damn thing. He's going to tell you, oh, it doesn't exist, or
Yeah, I know. All right, here we go. Listen up closely. It's right up just about here. We're just about to it. Listen.
Thank you.
I left the paper there if you want to add it to the record. You're done.
You're done. You're done.
David Crockett,
Wes
6.
Marriott.
Did you hear what he said?
You're done.
You are done.
Are you
Now-
done, Wes Marriott? He told you you're done. Are you done? I mean,
Let-
did you?
Let's play it again. Y'all listen carefully right here as Queen David scratching his head.
Thank you.
I left the paper there if you want to add it to the record. You're done. You're done.
Now, look, I don't like to scream political intimidation very much because, I'm the guy that'll invite them out to the parking lot. We'll just go settle the daggum thing. But
I think
those
Hamlin
those
called
two.
Well, yeah. He's like, hell yeah, I'm with that.
Come on, let's go out to the parking lot. Come on, David, have my back. But or Brian, I'm sorry, but those words, you're done. You are done. I mean, that is arguably the worst thing that Jeff Free could have said.
Yeah, I mean that is the second, somebody could perceive that as a threat. I don't know, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but that's the second, comment that he's made towards Mr. Marriott that, was threatening and in an attempt to intimidate. But that's what these guys do.
Right.
Vince doesn't do it, Bubba doesn't do it, and Darby doesn't do it, but they are accomplices to Free and Montgomery's intimidation tactics because they just sit there and they rubber stamp whatever Montgomery wants. I mean, all y'all are is an extension of Montgomery. You might as well not even show up, but you just need to give your proxy vote to Queen David.
Yeah. And look, I gotta
why you're there.
I gotta say, Wes, the only thing that you might have considered doing, and you played your hand masterfully at that meeting, is when he said you're done, you should have just walked up there and handed him the document. And just waited for the marshals to come running over there. Not really. I'm sorry, Danielle. I would have cost y'all bail money. But anyway. All right.
Colonel Crockett steps to the mic, and I think this is the part that maybe a lot of people have been hanging on, waiting to hear, where do we go from here?
Right. So let's let the Colonel tell us where we go.
David Crockett, 653 Dumaine Drive, Bossier City, Louisiana. term limits in the November election is the loss. So I just wanted to say that. And of course, I'm now per Sadow, we're back to where we were in the previous two items. A vote for this calls for spending taxpayer dollars to see if you can use the legal system to poke holes in a petition legally certified. But note it's entirely premature in the city without standing even to bring such a case. Any presumed harm would occur only if the electorate ratifies term limits into the charter from an allegedly defective process. You may be able to correct that if you think otherwise. What this asks for is the advisory opinion on a hypothetical situation which Louisiana courts cannot give. It's nothing more than a waste of taxpayer resources, but only a waste of the people's money. It wouldn't be a waste of your counselors interested, for counselors interested in fulfilling their own private agendas that require the pursuit of power by the ability to stay in office and the expense of the people's agenda. By grasping at whatever straw they can stop the term limits from enactment. That's what's happening. Let the democratic process play out instead of running into the courts for fatuous reasons. If, as a result of actual controversy emerges down the road, then the city can respond through the challenge in the courts. Or if the council thinks that the petitioning is so defective, then it can use the Charter Review Commission it recently adopted as a vehicle to fix matters after that. Now, Mr. President, my own comments. Bossier Term Limits Coalition is...
Say that again?
All right, stop right there. So he made 2 points at the start, and he's basically Jeff Sadow. Credit to Jeff Sadow, who gave some notes, and highly respect Jeff Sadow. But it's critical for people to understand the 2 points that Jeff was making. What Jeff was saying was that the Bossier City Council or Bossier City doesn't have standing. I mean, why are they suing? It goes back to the point, are they using taxpayer dollars to represent the councilman for their individual interests? Who are they and what is the standing for them to sue? Jeff Sadow was making the point that they don't have standing. The second thing is a judge can't rule on a hypothetical, that they're asking a judge to rule on a hypothetical that there's no standing for him to rule on. Those were the points that he was making, and I thought they were critical that we need to stop and say them again.
Yeah, good points made by Jeff through the Colonel, and good points emphasized by you. All right, let's see.
Now the Colonel is fixing to speak because we cut it off right there, but he's now talking or fixing to speak on behalf of the Bossier Term Limits Coalition. So
here's the plan.
Our position is that we use voter ID, and that includes year of birth. You have a legal problem because you're not enforcing the charter. Secondly, threats of lawsuits are not coming from the Bossier Term Limits Coalition, so they must be coming from the political aristocracy in your council. So the real question is, who is the city attorney representing? It's not the people. The harm is to the electorate, not the councilman. Bossier Term Limits Coalition is not suing Bossier City. Bossier Term Limits Coalition is not suing Bossier City. For us to do so will cost the parish twice. We have never and would never pursue that. Secondly, sue the city would likely delay term limits vote until after the filing for the 2025 elections. That's not our objective. Why would we do that? Bossier Term Limits Coalition is announcing that we're not withdrawing the petition. Our petition is legal, nor would we have a right to do so since the petition is the electorate's petition, not ours. And the certificate of the registrar is the registrar's. It's not ours. Bossier Term Limits Coalition is also announcing that we're going to accomplish 2 additional petitions, likely starting this weekend, one of which will be term limits petition. We'll be announcing in a press conference in the near future what both petitions are. We'll be explaining it to the public. But thank you for your time, and I appreciate your patience.
Additional
Now-
comments from the public?
Now, here's the deal. So what the colonel just said, I mean, and you heard him. We made the conscious decision that, look, we're not going to sue, even though that's what that's what the council wanted. They wanted us to sue. In fact, that last council meeting, one of the reasons that they delayed it and pushed, or tried to push some of this off until the next, they wanted to give enough time in the hopes that after that last meeting, we would, file for a declaratory judgment. And then when it came to pass that by Thursday, a lot of government people were off on the Friday for the Memorial Day weekend. When they finally realized that, hey, we hadn't filed anything, well, crap, they're not going to do anything. So we got to get the ball rolling. We got to do it.
Yeah,
ourselves.
we got to do something by delaying it more.
Yeah, they're not going to do it. We got to do
Right.
it. And we were never going to, because here's the thing. Like the colonel said, we're not going to cost the taxpayers dollars, from Bossier City, from your parish, and Colonel missed one. Now you're talking about dragging the state AG's office in to have to defend Stephanie Agee. I mean, you're talking about costing the taxpayers a ton of money. And
Right.
look, government, especially Bossier City government, they're all very good at wasting taxpayers' dollars. I mean, we know they have perfected that, and they're just proving it right now.
Hello, Link Coleman. Their track record in lawsuits is not the greatest.
Yeah. So here's the thing: we have a legal petition sitting there, and why waste resources trying to go litigate where, we'll see. Someone could articulate and say, hey, you know what? No wonder he wants to go to 26 JDC. I mean, it's going to be stacked against you anyway. I mean, the law says that you have to have been certified as a Republican, for however long to qualify to run for a Republican seat. And yet a Democrat can change party affiliation one day before, and a judge in Benton finds, oh, he can run as a Republican the next day. Those kinds of things happen in Benton. Isn't it interesting? So,
well, all right. So I'm putting a comment up right now, which I may be jumping the shark just a little bit, but that says we need volunteers to help. We're going to put a digital sign-up sheet on Bossier term limits here in the next couple of days, and we'll post that out there.
Who put that?
No, I'm about to put it.
No, who put it?
What do you mean?
You said jumping the shark. Somebody put that in the comments?
No, I'm fixing to. I'm about to hit enter and make it show up.
Okay. We were getting there. You did jump the shark.
Yeah, just a little bit. But, yeah, here's the deal, and you've heard me talk about it many times, that it was the first petition did have several people helping, but the truth is it was you and the colonel that did the majority of it. I mean, I walked the neighborhood. Our good friend Ryan Haygood did. I think Cheatham and them helped some and all that. So I'm
Barry Butler.
Barry Butler did. Yeah.
John Burns.
John Burns did. So I don't want to say it was just you and the colonel, but the fact is y'all did the lion's share of it. But it should be vastly easier this time to get it done, but it's still going to take some help. So what say you, Mr. Lowry?
Well, you jumped the shark, definitely, and that's okay. But here's the thing. Again, the time, if we just lay down, and absolutely, my wife, my kids, they went out, they walked several days. I mean, and pretty much all of North Green Acres Place, me, my wife, and my kids all walked and knocked all of those doors. And unfortunately, I'm going to tell you, Green Acres Place, y'all didn't come through like you should have. It was kind of weak up there, I'm going to tell you. But here's the thing. Again, we have a certified petition. We're not going to, why waste time, litigating, let them flounder around on doing that crap. But more importantly, we kind of said, what? Because I'll tell you, I understand that the city attorney and several of the councilmen, they think it was a one-off. They think there's no way they could do it again. That they they can't do it and they won't do it. And pretty much what the colonel just articulated and what we had come to the conclusion was, you know what? We'll let this thing, if they want to litigate it, they can go litigate, but probably before they're done, they've gave us a gift. We're going to go back to all of the thousands of people that signed this petition, and we're going to go back and we're going to explain to them that your councilman, the ones y'all elected, David Montgomery, Jeff Free, Bubba Williams, Jeff Darby, and Vince Maggio, they can't understand what you want because your year of birth is not on here, because they can't read it, because they don't know what a voter ID means, because it just doesn't make sense. They don't understand. So we're going to go have that conversation again with everybody and explain it to them, and something tells me they're going to be a little aggravated.
Well, here's the thing: is they don't realize that Queen David, Jacobs, all of them have helped us immensely, because we've got even more fuel to add to the fire when explaining Bossier term limits to people, which is easy anyway. But now we can go back and say, look, they're fighting this tooth and nail. The guys that have been in there, the entrenched incumbents, they're kicking to give people even more resolve to sign the petition.
Absolutely. And there's a part that the colonel said that I don't think they caught, and I'm thinking a lot of people. He said 2 petitions. Now, what I'm telling you, Rex, is here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the original petition with the term limits, and we're going to put the voter ID number, which has the year of birth in it. But you know what? Just so these guys, because they can't read everything or understand everything, we're going to put the year of birth on there for them so they can comprehend it. And we're going to go back and we're going to get that petition done. But what they didn't hear was, they didn't hear that there's going to be another petition for something else, another amendment to the charter. And we haven't said what that is, but I'll tell you what, guys, y'all take a little time and you ponder, what in the world could those guys take back to the people, petition wise, to, in addition to term limits? What else could they possibly want to get under our craw about? And I'm just wondering, did they even pick up on that? I don't know. I'm thinking it flew over a lot of people's heads.
And it begs the question, was this the plan all along?
I don't know. No, we're not that smart.
Nah.
No way we
No
could have
way.
anticipated that these guys would fight it. No way.
No, we could have never figured that out. I mean, we're just, a couple of amateurs that have, and I'm proud to say this, over 130, 140 some odd people still watching at 2 hours and 43 minutes. We appreciate every one of you that is watching the show and sitting through all this.
Yeah, no doubt. That shows a level of interest and a level of commitment. But here's the thing, like Rex said before, if a handful of people can do what we just did and show these guys for what they really stand for, which is not you, and, we're affecting change. If a handful of people can affect change like is happening right now, what can be done if you got 2 handfuls or 3 handfuls? So here's the plea to all of you out there. If you think this has done good and this has moved the needle, step up to the plate and help.
Yeah.
Step up to the plate and let's go all the way with this. And people say, and here's the thing, Rex, I'm gonna go and throw this out here, and I'm if I make 150 of y'all that are watching right now mad, then so be it. You can be mad and you can hate me. I don't care, but I'm gonna say it. Don't say you're gonna help and not help.
Right.
Don't say you're going to step up to the plate and you're going to do something. Own up to your word and do what you say you're going to do. And I'm telling you right now that the handful that made this happen before is all committed to make it happen again. We would like to have people standing by our side helping us. And if you're willing to do that, Rex, what do they need to do?
Well, what we're going to do is we'll post information and we'll come up with a digital or online form for people to sign up. That'll make it easy where you can just go and from your computer, it'll take just a minute, or phone or whatever, and sign up. We'll get your phone numbers and all that, and we will text and coordinate with you as we develop our actual action plan and, schedules and who we need to do what. And look, I got to say, last week when we put out the call, and I know Wes did on Sobo Live, and Cheatham did down on the Sobo Facebook groups and all that. When we put out the call to show up to the council meeting last week, you guys delivered. That was everybody watching all of our shows and all of our content. Y'all showed up to that meeting and spoke out, and so I've got faith that this time, like you said, Duke. One handful got it done the last time. If we have, a double or triple handful this time, it'll be way easier. So
It'll be way easier. It'll be way more effective. And did you tell everybody that if you don't know how to contact or whatever, the Bossier term limits at gmail.com.
yes, I'll put those in the comments. So if you're interested, before I get the online form done, if you're interested in helping, I'm putting the Term Limits Coalition email address in the comments. It's just bossiertermlimits at gmail.com. Of course, you can send something to bossierwatch at Proton Mail or bossierwatch at Gmail, and we read those too. And of course, we'll make sure and reach out to you as we get this thing kicked off.
And somebody said, and I would be remiss to not mention this. Another reason to do the term limits petition again is because let's just say, to y'all watching, how many excuses, if you take the excuses that the council is giving now, do you think that they'll find more excuses the next time? How many?
Shall we put that up to a vote?
Yeah. Do y'all think that they're going to try it again or whatever? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm confident that they'll try to find another excuse.
You ever watch the Rocky movies when you were a kid? We're about the same age. You ever watch Rocky when you were a kid?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Let's see. Was it at the end of Rocky 3 when he fought Clubber Lang and came back, and Apollo Creed was helping him out? At the very end of the movie, they go ding ding, and both throw the punches at each other when they're in the ring sparring.
Yeah. Now.
Ding ding.
Now it starts.
Now it starts. All right, Mr. Lowry, you got anything else for everybody tonight?
Nope, I'm done.
All right. Well, hat tip to everybody that was watching and stayed with us tonight, and especially to the star of the show, Wes Marriott. You gave us great entertainment, and you goaded those morons into saying stuff that was just spectacular. Hats off to Colonel Crockett and everybody else that speaks at the council meetings and bringing up the good points. We love all the commentary, good or bad. I don't know. I'm running out of things to say. I've already mentioned the email addresses.
Step up to the plate and volunteer. Let's get this thing done. And
pay attention to Bossier Watch and Bossier Term Limits, the Facebook pages, and we'll make announcements as we progress. How about that?
Yep. Thank you all so much. Have a good night.
We're out of here.